Hello everyone, if you're new to my channel, consider liking and subscribing. It will make me feel wonderful if you do that. Thanks. By the way, I also have another Naruto and Luffy fanfiction channel. If you are interested, link is in the description.
At the age of 15, Luffy dies. Due to an astronomical chance, a higher dimensional being and an individual from another universe, he gets a new life, infused with memories of a vastly different version of himself. Follow a self-aware Luffy as he navigates his messed-up world, armed with new knowledge, and tries his hardest to make everyone around him as joyful as possible. Adios.
And then after the others were done with their fights, I beat Arlong up, and that was that, Luffy narrated, sitting on Mary's figurehead late in the night, long after everyone had gone to sleep. And then the party started. I didn't forget to eat as much raw ham melon as I could. It was delicious, and I made sure Sanji learned the recipe too. So now, I can eat it whenever I want. I wonder if you can eat. And if so, would you eat normal food or something like? Luffy tilted his head from one side to the other. If ships could, what would they eat? Wood and nails? Algae? He obviously got no response from Mary, but was interrupted when a door burst open and Nami walked out on deck. Luffy saw her scan the surroundings in a bit of a panic, but she quickly calmed down. Her eyes then fell on him and she let out a sigh of relief with a small smile before walking up to him with a questioning look. "What are you doing up so late?" "Just telling Mary of our adventures." "You're calling Mary and Kaya? Let me say hi too." No, not Butler Mary. I meant our Mary. The going Mary," Luffy said, patting the figurehead. "You're talking to the ship?" "Yeah." Nami stared at him for a couple of seconds before walking closer with a concerned look and wrapped an arm around his neck, giving him a hug. If you want to talk to someone, I'm all ears, you know. I'll listen to anything, you don't have to pretend to talk to inanimate objects." Luffy amusedly rolled his eyes. "Really? Yeah. But I want to talk to Mary though. You can talk to me too," she said, patting his head gently. Luffy made a big show of thinking hard before shaking his head. "No, I prefer Mary." "Is that so?" she huffed, instantly getting irritated and releasing him. "Well, enjoy yourself then." She turned her back, but Luffy chuckled, grabbing her hand and pulling her back. She you know I was kidding. Stop. Nami smacked him lightly before grinning and leaned on the railing next to him. "Sue, you talk to the ship." "Yeah, you should try too. It's fun, right? Hey Mary, the ship. Our captain has apparently gone crazy and is asking me to talk to you. I don't know what to say here." "Just tell her why you're up." She slightly flinched and Luffy looked at her questioningly. "You had a nightmare or something? You were looking around the ship as if making sure you were actually here earlier." Nami glared at him for a couple of seconds before hanging her head low with a sigh. "You know, just woke up suddenly in the room and thought it might have all been a dream. Trauma just doesn't disappear overnight, huh? Well, you are all alone in your room." "Yeah, it's not a big deal. Just gotta look around a bit and I know this is real." "Or you could just look at your tattoo," Luffy said, eyeing her shoulder. "I haven't gotten the chance to see it yet. It looks good." "Right?" Nami brightened up, showing it off with a proud smile. "It's a pinwheel and a tangerine." Her happy expression then morphed into an annoyed one before she smacked him. "The reason you didn't get a chance was because you kept avoiding me. Well, you kept bugging me by asking and asking about what I did with Noji." "Stop calling her Noji." "Why? She's my sister, you're not allowed to sleep with her." "I didn't though. As I keep telling you, Genzo was with us too. So unless you're insinuating that Noji, Genzo and I had a thr." Ew, stop. She stop asking then. Your sister is her own person and I can have as many secrets as I want with her." Fine." She hung her head low with a pout. "I was just curious as to what happened, that's all. I know you didn't sleep with her or anything. Genzo would have bitten your head off if you really had done something like that." She that's true." A comfortable silence fell in between them before Luffy remembered something he wanted to tell her. "Oh hey, wanted to talk about something." Nami yawned, rubbing her eyes. "What?" "Well, it can wait. You go to sleep now." Nami just hummed as she nodded. "You should go to sleep too, idiot. You keep dozing off during the day because you don't sleep much at night." It's fine. Luffy waved her concerns off and she sighed before going back to sleep. Luffy spent the rest of the night training his observation, conquerors, and also activating and deactivating gear too. With no strong opponents to fight, he was afraid of getting rusty. Just like Arlong. Maybe he was stronger when he was in the Grand Line, but being in East Blue for 8 years with no one to challenge him had made him hilariously weak. While fighting him, he had paused and given him chances to fight back, but Arlong just couldn't, and Luffy could clearly see that Arlong had become too unused to fighting. I hope Crocodile will push me a bit at least, he thought with a sigh as he trained through the night. Hoo-ah! Usopp loudly gasped from below deck, which made the 3 other men, who were sparring on deck the next morning, come to a stop. The hatch to the men's quarters soon opened from the inside and Usopp popped out with an excited expression with a black duffel bag in hand. "Oh Murphy, you son of a bitch," Luffy facepalmed. "Who's Murphy?" Zoro asked confused, and Luffy just shook his head with a sigh. "Luffy, guys. Have you seen this?" Usopp exclaimed, showing them what was inside the bag, and Sanji and Zoro's eyes widened when they saw the large amount of stacks of bills. "Holy crap. How much is that?" "Around 200 million, Luffy answered. "What?" Sanji and Usopp gasped. "What's going on?" Nami came out of the kitchen, and when her eyes landed on the bag full of cash, she moved faster than even Luffy's eyes could follow, and the bag was in her hands as she gaped at it. Her eyes slowly became crazed as she seemingly counted the amount. 198,654,980 berries. "Wow, you could accurately estimate that in just a couple of seconds?" Luffy said, impressed. "Where the hell did this much money come from?" Nami yelled while hugging the bag. The 3 men looked at Luffy, causing Nami to also look at him, and he sighed deeply, massaging his head. "First of all, I'm curious how you didn't see it until now." "Huh? I've had that bag even before I met you. Even when we were in the one cabin boat. You didn't snoop through my bags back when we first met?" "I did," Nami admitted shamelessly, "but I didn't see this then." "Oh, Makino was with us back then. I didn't check her bags." "Who's Makino?" Sanji asked. "Someone we traveled with for a while. She's Luffy's friend slash sister slash mother slash nanny," Zoro answered. "Huh? They had a weird relationship?" Nami added. "Anyway," Luffy continued, not commenting anything, "even after she left, that bag was inside the cabin where you slept." "You mean I was sleeping with this much money just a few feet away from me?" "Yeah, I'm so sorry," she apologized to the bag of money, hugging it tightly. "You must have been so sad that I didn't notice you. Don't worry, you're all mine now," she drooled with a crazed look in her eyes. "I thought she was obsessed with money because of Arlong." Usopp's sweat dropped, "but guess not, huh?" "You?" Nami suddenly turned on Luffy with a glare, realizing something. "You hid this from me." No, I was gonna tell you soon. This is what I wanted to tell you last night." "You hid it from me for all these days though. Well, you did have the whole Arlong thing. Would you have been happy if I just showed you that I had the remaining amount you needed?" "Well, guess not." "Ah well, who cares? This is mine now. I'm rich. I'm rich." She danced around, twirling the bag in her hands. Luffy sighed, resolving himself before he did something unthinkable. He walked up to her, snatched the bag right out of her hands before she could respond, looked her straight in the eyes and said, "This isn't for you." Nami blinked dumbly, his words echoing in her mind like a death sentence as her empty air. Something snapped in her mind at that moment, and the next second, she erupted like a volcano and lunged at Luffy, trying to grab the bag of money back. "Raw! Give it back, that's mine." Luffy held the bag behind his back with one hand while his other hand kept Nami at bay while she clawed and screamed at him like a rabid cat. "That's mine, give it back." "Down girl," Luffy said, grabbing both her wrists with one hand, but she just shifted to using her legs to kick at him while shrieking and cursing him out. "Listen to me, Fi. Give it back. My precious money, it's mine, Liste. Grr, it's mine. Don't worry, little ones, you'll come back to mommy in no time. Give it back." His sweat dropped before looking towards the others. Guys? Help. "I'm not going anywhere near that thing," Zoro said with a scowl. "I'm not afraid to admit that I'm too much of a coward to face that," Usopp said with a gulp. "Don't worry, Nami Swan. Your knight in shining armor will get you your money back," Sanji declared with determination, turning on Luffy, but before he could attack, Zoro and Usopp thankfully held him back, saying, "Don't make things more complicated." Luffy shook his head with a sigh, not getting any help from the rest, and looked at Nami, who kept yelling as she kicked and squirmed under his grip. Looked like the money being snatched away from her had triggered some instinctive and primal part of her brain that could only focus on getting it back. Not having any other choice, Luffy let go of her hands and brought the bag closer to her, which was instantly grabbed and hugged by her. Luffy didn't let go either, resulting in both of them hugging the bag while staring off at one another. Nami still tried to wrench the bag away from Luffy, but she seemed to have come back to her senses, at least as she glared at Luffy. "Let go, this is mine." "Looks like you're back to your senses at least, let go." "No, how dare you, let go of my precious money." "Listen, I've gathered this money even before I started this journey with the sole purpose of spending it somewhere. There's no way in hell I'm letting you spend 198 million, ya bastard. What could you possibly need it for?" To save a dying friend. That brought her rampage to an abrupt stop. She slowly calmed down, the crazed look in her eyes subsiding too before she became normal again. "What? I need this money to save a friend? The whole 198 million? Maybe it'll cost less or maybe way more, I don't know." Nami bit her lip in frustration as she looked down at the bag. "From where did you even get this much?" "Back on my home island, there's this kingdom with really SMY nobles. I just slipped into multiple houses and stole whatever was lying around. Hit enough places and I managed to gather this much." Nami's eyes widened with shock. "Lying around? You didn't even break into safes?" "Didn't have to. 5 to 10 million was lying around as its chump change to them, and I stole it. I hit a few wealthy shops too and that covered it. I'm pretty sure none of the places even noticed that money was missing." "How long did it take you?" "A day?" Nami hung her head low in frustration. She had struggled like hell for 8 fucking years and barely managed to make half of what Luffy had made in a day. Strength is everything, huh? That's how the world works. Fine. Nami sighed reluctantly, letting go of the bag with tears in her eyes. "Luffy, this better be for a good cause or else." "It is. Why did the witch act like she had anything to do with getting that money?" Zoro grumbled. "Luffy had it way before he met us, so what he does with it is entirely up to him." Smack. Gawk. Zoro fell. "What's his is mine," Nami snarled. "Ooh, just add, what's mine is also mine, and you'll become a certain bully from a show about a future robot cat." "The fuck does that mean?" Smack. Gawk. Luffy fell. Luffy and Zoro both got up, rubbing the growing bumps on their heads, and saw that Nami had settled in a corner on deck with a depressive air around her. Sanji was trying to cheer her up by singing praises and offering drinks, but it didn't work. Usopp sat beside them and bowed slightly. "Sorry. I had no idea we had such a terrifying monster on board. If I did, I wouldn't have shown her the money. I was going to show her anyway, after explaining first though. Even I didn't think she was that crazy." "Neither did I," Zoro added. "Well, a lesson for the future, I guess. When it comes to money and the witch, you gotta be careful." Agreed. Half an hour later, she was still sulking in the same position and not being able to take seeing her so sad. Luffy went to sit next to her. She just glanced at him with teary eyes, pouted, and then buried her head into her knees. "Can't you steal that much money again?" she asked softly. "Well, there are certain criteria, I guess. The people have to be SMY. They have to be filthy rich to the point that whatever we steal shouldn't even dent their finances." "What kind of pirate are you, ya bastard? Money's really important. Normal people struggle a lot without it. I can't in good conscience just steal from them when it means their livelihood is affected." Luffy softly said, reminiscing how hard life was for Leo and the other kids without money. Yeah, Nami sighed. "Well, if we come across such people, you're helping me steal from them." "Of course. Well, segueing from that, let's talk a bit about finances." Nami perked up and looked at him curiously. "Go on. We haven't talked about this officially, but you know you're the treasurer of the crew, right?" "Obviously. Okay. What do you think are good practices we should follow?" "What? Well, for example, the orphanage my brother grew up in always had a reserve fund kept aside for emergency situations. Like if the government stopped sending money or the donations fell short, they could still survive for 4 months with the reserve fund. So something like that." Okay, the reserve fund is not a bad idea, but we don't have enough to make one right now." "How much do we need? How many members are you planning to invite to join the crew?" Well, not more than 10 inches, really? That low? I set out on my journey with a plan of making 10 people join me. A few more maybe, but we'll never have more than 15 to 16 members. And in the very near future, like 2 or 3 more might join, that's all. Well okay, given your appetite, around 30 million. Let's make do with 20 inches, Luffy said as he picked out that amount from the 198 million and handed it to Nami, who just looked surprised. Really, won't your friend need it? It's complicated, but you're all my responsibility too. Having enough money is important. Luffy, it's fine. We can manage for now. No, keep it for the crew. This is enough for now. If this isn't, I'll gather more sometime later. If you say so, any other suggestions? Him keeping the 20 million aside. If we ever fall below 10 million, we'll need to immediately start looking into getting more. Okay, no unnecessary expenses. Especially you. You spent so much on unnecessary things back in Syrup Village, nothing like that anymore. Well, we'll see. What does that mean? She snapped, you should say yes. I said we'll see, say yes. Other than that. Luffy quickly changed the topic. Let me regularly know how much our spending and all is. What? Like expense reports? Not that official. Just let me know how much we have, how much we spent and how much we'll last if we keep spending at the same rate. Nami stared at him for a second. Why, don't you trust me? Luffy gave her a deadpan look and she coughed, taking back her statement. Okay, that was a stupid question, but then why? I just don't want to leave everything up to you. Feels I don't know, like I'm leaving all the menial responsibilities up to you. Well okay, she said, albeit a bit hesitant. Hey, he got her attention and made her face him. You want on anything you want, you know. I'm never ever gonna step in and say you're not allowed to or anything like that, unless you go too crazy, of course. Ooh. Let's do it like this. I don't like being told what I can and can't spend money on, and neither do you. So let's keep each other in check. If either of us goes too overboard, the other person will stop and reprimand them. How's that sound? Nami blinked in surprise for a few seconds before nodding. That does sound good. Define too crazy. Like we don't have any money for food, and you still go buy criminal products. I can agree to that. And you really can't buy unnecessary stuff like toys and all. Okay then, I agree. Okay good. Luffy and Nami both grinned as they shook hands. Hey, we can listen to everything you guys are cooking up, Usopp interjected. What about the rest of us? We can spend as much as we want to then. Hell fucking no, Nami snapped. The rest of you will be given fair shares, sure, but anything extra and expensive will be reviewed and given only if it's required. No fair. Let's just divide everything we have equally, then there will be no problems. No arguments, Nami snapped. We can't just divide everything equally and spend all we have. We have to take care of common needs like food and other essentials first for the whole crew. Then ship repairs, medicine, clothes, Luffy added. Then we have to think of future expenses too, Nami concluded. That made Usopp stop and actually think about it. Guess that's true. It'll be fine. Sanji swooned, Nami Swan is always right. As Luffy said, they'll keep each other in check. Zoro interjected while he trained, as long as the witch isn't solely responsible, our money's safe. Fuck you. Sanji attacked Zoro for that comment and they began their usual spat. Well, don't worry too much, Luffy waved it off. We'll never have a big enough crew for this to actually cause problems, and, he looked at Nami with a smile. Remember what I told you the first day we met? That you'll give me 1 billion berries? Wow. You don't forget, huh? Well, yeah. I did accept that challenge, so yeah, I'll fulfill that. And how many years will I have to wait for that? She asked with a pout. Guess you'll have to wait to find out, Luffy grinned, getting up. I'll wait, give me the money for now, she said, grabbing the bag. Why? She looked at the others before getting close to Luffy's ears and softly whispered, I want to roll in it. Oh, Luffy chuckled, imagining her cheering as she spread all the cash on her bed and rolled around in it. Sure, go ahead. Nami brightened up as she took the bag and was about to get up to go to her room, but Luffy stopped her. I'll wait. She looked questioningly at him and Luffy stared back at her seriously, got close to her ear and whispered, I don't want the money to get wet, so keep your pants on at least. Nami's face immediately turned crimson and she swung the bag at his head. What are you saying, idiot? You understood what I meant way too quickly, Nami, it's almost like you were planning to do Jew. Idiot. Nami squawked, her face turning even more crimson, and before the others could ask what they were talking about, she ran to the storage deck to get to her room while Luffy chuckled. It was only hours later, when everyone else had gone to sleep, that Nami came out on deck, fresh out of the shower. Luffy was playing a soft tune on the piano when she dropped the bag at his feet, and he paused, giving her an amused smile before saying, "You can keep it until I need it." Nami blushed again but got close to his ear and growled, "You mention this again and I'll disembowel you." Luffy just made the action of zipping his lips and went back to playing the piano. She walked away with a lightly flushed face, but a few seconds later, came back with a heavily flushing face, wordlessly grabbed the bag and started going back towards her room. "Think of me, go to hell, she. Oh. You raised the prices again?" Nami complained, glaring at the news crew, which just looked tired and worn out. "Hey Nami, don't take it out on the poor bird. Morgans is probably the one who sets the price," Luffy said from where he was lying in the crow's nest before holding out a corn cob he was eating towards the bird. "Come here, buddy." The news coup happily flew and landed on his arm before it started nibbling on the corn, and Luffy chuckled as he pet it, saying, "Sorry for the mean girl." "Don't call me a mean girl." Nami instantly snapped from below while the bird just made a wave-off motion as if saying, "Don't worry about it. It's just a few berries for a newspaper. Who cares?" Usopp interjected from the side where he was creating his special pellets. "It adds up over time, so? We have 20 million just in reserve." "Idiot, it's called a reserve because we should use it only during emergencies. We should save and collect as much money as we can. I don't want to be a penniless pirate," she rebuked, shutting Usopp up. Luffy bid the news crew farewell after it had its fill before looking down at Nami, who sat on a beach chair and opened up the newspaper. He felt a sense of déjà vu looking down at the scene, and only when a flyer fell out of the papers did he remember that this was where he was going to see his first ever bounty. He instantly jumped off the crow's nest and landed on the deck with a loud thud, startling everyone. "Don't jump like that. You're gonna give me a heart attack," Nami snapped, but he ignored her and immediately snatched the bounty poster that had fallen out. He turned it over in bubbling excitement, wondering how much higher his bounty was going to be compared to the story, but froze stiff when he saw his bounty poster. Oh no, his face paled. 45 million was his bounty, and he wanted to be happy about it, but his mind wasn't even on the amount. His eyes were fixated on the image that was used. Memories of the time Reiju had taken a picture of him while he was petulantly pouting and him chasing her around to grab the camera flashing in his mind. "Give it here. I'm the future Pirate King. The Pirate King shouldn't have pouting pictures of him." "PFF, ha 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 ha. I didn't even think about that. Ooh, now, I'm gonna treat this like treasure. Ha 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 hee hee. I'll give this picture to the Marines and PFF hee hee hee. And tell them to use it for your bounty poster when you eventually get one. HAHAHAHAHAHAHAHAHA. Imagine that. It's the bounty poster of the strongest man in the world, the Pirate King. And it's this cute picture of you pouting. Ha 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 ha. Don't you dare. What's WR? Nami said, sensing something wrong with his reaction, but was cut off when Luffy dropped to his knees and let out a loud anguished scream. No. Marine HQ. All the high-ranking Marine officials were being debriefed about the state of affairs and new threats in East Blue by Lieutenant Commander Branu. And that day's debrief was about a new pirate threat. "So this new pirate crew is too much for our branch units to handle?" one of the captains asked. "Yes," Branu said, and then pointed to a board having a number of bounty posters. Buggy the Clown, Don Krieg, Arlong the Saw, each having bounties of 15, 17 and 20 million respectively, were all defeated by this new crew. This is not official, but Kuro of 100 Plans, who had a 16 million bounty, had apparently faked his death and was still alive in a small village. Kuro was also defeated by this new pirate crew. On top of that, we have confirmation that Ganzak, Leaper, Eldarago and a few small-time pirates were also taken out by this newbie crew. And by small-time pirates, I mean pirates with more than 5 million bounties. You should understand how dangerous this crew is, given that the average bounty in East Blue is 3 million. How many thousand pirates are on this crew? It varies from different accounts, but at the start, there were just 2 people. Then it became 4 and at TD 5 people, Branu informed, shocking everyone. That's preposterous. No way that's true. Branu put a stop to the chattering by simply raising a hand. We couldn't believe it either, but we have checked and rechecked everyone's testimony and it's true. This group of 5 is the strongest crew currently in East Blue. Even that Bommy and Liz sisters, who destroyed a few marine bases, are nothing compared to this new crew. He continued, we only have confirmation of the captain. The other 4 members' identities are unclear, doesn't matter anyway since we have the captain. This pirate also threatened and attacked Captain Nizumi of the 16th branch, who seems to be mentally shaken currently. Given his danger, we have decided to pin an unprecedented bounty amount of 45 million on his head. Captain Monkey D. Luffy, he declared, dramatically pulling down a slide board and revealing the bounty poster of the new pirate captain that was shaking the very foundations of East Blue. Next second, the very serious atmosphere that had been built up vanished instantly as the entire room burst out laughing. PFFF ha 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 ha. Branu became confused at the reaction, so he looked back at the poster and did a spit take. PFF'd. Ha 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 ha. Looks like someone messed up. Ha ha ha. Hey, put up the correct poster, he ordered a nearby marine. Ha ha, but sir, that is the correct poster. What? You can't be serious. Is this a joke? No, sir, another marine piped up. We did get a picture from Captain Nizumi, but we got orders from higher up to use this image instead. Is that so? Branu trailed off, accepting the answer. He tried to keep a straight face as he tried to continue the meeting, but one marine cracked a joke about the cutely pouting pirate, which opened the floodgates for others to do the same, and laughter echoed in the base for hours. Clockwork Island. You sure have become a leader to these people, Whoopslap said as he watched Makino dealing with yet another crisis that happened on the island. Well, they come to me to solve it. I can't just turn them away, Makino said as she sat behind a desk and went over food expense reports. Silk, Chrissy and Lestrade are more concentrated on science research and inventions. They already looked at me like I was one of their leaders the last time I was here as Silk and I led the attack against the pirates back then. And now that I brought Garp's influence here, I kinda sorta became like a mayor to these guys. This isn't a small village or town for you to be called a mayor. This is a whole island, so it isn't a stretch to call you its ruler. Makino chuckled, shaking her head. As if. This is just temporary until things stabilize here. It's good though, Whoopslap grinned. I was worried when you came back after adventuring with Luffy where it looked like you didn't have the motivation to do anything. Now, you look like you have a reason again. Yeah, Makino lightly chuckled. Well, I learned some things when I was with Luffy. And you won't tell this old man what? Makino shook her head as she put down the pen and leaned back into the chair. It's not my secret to tell, and it isn't just because of that. You remember how miserable I was when Luffy disappeared? Not able to do anything but scream at Garp and Sengoku over a call. That feeling of powerlessness, I hated it so much. True, and I don't know, just felt like doing something else with my life. I don't know what I'm doing here either, but it's something. Whoopslap just nodded with a smile. Well, as long as you're happy. People back home miss you, but they'll come to visit from time to time like me. Thanks. They kept chatting when sudden loud laughter came from outside, and a couple of seconds later, Silk burst into the room laughing uncontrollably while clutching her stomach and tripping over herself. Silk, what happened? Hee 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 luf ha 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 Luffy's bow ha ha ha. She wheezed, not able to complete her sentence, and just handed a bounty poster to Makino. Confused, Makino took one look at the bounty poster and spluttered out a laugh. She immediately covered her mouth and her shoulders shook as she tried hard to suppress her laughter, but when Whoopslap looked over her shoulder, saw the bounty poster and fell to the floor laughing his ass off, she couldn't control herself and lost it too. Bandit hideout. Dawn Island. The bandits were just doing boring menial jobs when Dogra came in bursting with laughter. The hell happened, Dogra? Dayton questioned with a glare. Ha ha ha, it's Luffy. He finally got a bounty, ha 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 ha. Really? Dayton's face lit up with joy but was confused at his reaction. Why are you laughing then? Did he get a super low bounty or something? No, he has the highest ever in East Blue, 45 million. Wow. The other bandits cheered with awe and happiness. But why are you laughing? Everyone at Fuchsia is laughing too. Take a look at his poster, he said, and finally revealed the poster with a ta-da. And the whole hideout broke down in hysterical laughter. Syrup Village Kaya was at her desk, reading a new book, tilted, the Lucifer effect, when there was a knock at the door, and she tilted her head in confusion when she heard light snickers coming from the other side of the door. Confused, she said, "Come in," and Mary entered clutching his stomach, looking like he was holding back laughter. "What happened, Mary?" "PFF'd, it's Luffy, Miss Kaya. His bounty poster, PFFT, came in the papers today." "Really? Show me, PFF'd. Here?" Kaya looked at it. And broke down into a fit of giggles which broke down Mary's restraints too. BARATIE. GAHAHAHAHAH. Patty's loud laughter reverberated across the restaurant in the middle of lunchtime rush, getting the attention of all the cooks and customers. "Patty, what are you doing? You're disturbing the customers," Carne yelled angrily, but that only caused Patty to laugh harder. He tried to say something but couldn't, so he just shoved the bounty poster into Carne's hands. Carne took one look at the poster and guffawed. More cooks came forward trying to scold them, got the bounty poster shoved in their faces, saw it, spluttered out a laugh, and soon, all the cooks were laughing hysterically instead of cooking or serving the customers. Zeph heard the loud commotion from his room upstairs and immediately came down only to find all his cooks wheezing on the floor, but more importantly, not working. "What do you think you're doing? Ya shitty eggplants?" he roared in anger, but one of the cooks just shoved the poster into his hand. Zeph looked at it, and promptly fell down guffawing. "Garp's ship, East Blue. Can you believe it? We are on Garp the hero's ship?" Kobe exclaimed in joy as he mopped the decks. "As chore boys though," Helmeppo said, rolling his eyes. "Come on, Helmeppo. This is our chance. We can get personal training from Garpims." Their conversation was cut off when the whole ship literally rumbled because of loud roaring laughter. The wahahahahahahaha. Garp suddenly burst out of his quarters, breaking the doors in the process, and went up on deck while completely lost in howling laughter. Kobe and a few others went up to him to see what had their hero so amused and saw that he was looking at a bounty poster. Kobe tried to peek, but the height difference made it impossible, but Garp just threw the poster at him. He, and a few others who peeked over his shoulder, took one look at the poster and did a spit take. "Peef!" Kobe instantly covered his mouth. "No, I must not laugh, he's my savior. I must not laugh. I must not." His surroundings didn't help though, as they were all passing around the poster, making fun, and laughing at it. Helmeppo being the loudest, other than Garp of course. Things only calmed down half an hour later when Garp managed to compose himself. He sat on the deck staring out into the sea thinking about his grandson. "At least you're alive and well, Luffy." He had gotten messages from Makino that Luffy had returned while came back from his mission in the New World and had immediately called her back, only to be met with rage. After he appeased Makino enough and asked where Luffy was for the past 2 years, she refused to tell him anything and told him to ask Luffy himself. She just let him know that he had been through something horrible. As to what, he had no idea. Logetown Smoker could hear each Marine splutter out a laugh before letting out a soft gasp of realization as they recognized the pirate in the bounty poster which they had just received from HQ. Luffy's bounty poster had reached Logetown as soon as it was set because the higher-ups wanted Smoker to capture the unprecedented 45 million worth pirate. He was a Logia and arguably the most powerful Marine captain stationed in East Blue, so he was given direct orders to capture him. Smoker left his snickering and bewildered subordinates and went to his office where he sighed deeply. "Was everything he said to me a lie?" He grumbled, remembering the last time they had met. It was in Flint, where all the people in the village had disappeared and Straw Hat had come there to find his friends who had also disappeared. The Marine captain in charge of that place was Captain Gideon, who was one of the most unpleasant and clearly corrupt Marines he had met. When Straw Hat took the weird panda-like bird called Balloon from right under their noses and escaped, Gideon wanted to issue a bounty on him. Smoker had stepped in and confronted Gideon, saying that he would report him if he lied about Straw Hat. He had stood up for the team even though technically, Gideon had a valid reason to call for his arrest as he had technically stolen the bird. He had done that because Gideon had clearly forced Straw Hat's hands. He wasn't blind to all the corrupt assholes who somehow made it to the captain rank, so he understood where the team was coming from. And he knew he had made the right decision when all the villagers in Flint came back a few days later safe and sound. He had personally followed up and called to see if a person called Luffy had helped them and a girl called Silk had sung his praises, telling him how Luffy was her guardian angel and how he had saved them all. On top of that, Gideon was stripped of his title and was imprisoned just a week after that incident. Smoker remembered how Makino had said, "Enjoy your last days as a captain" to Gideon just before they ran away, and he knew that she had something to do with his imprisonment. He had a good impression of Straw Hat, at least until that morning. He's a pirate now, his face scowled in disgust, and he began going through all the crimes that'd been listed as his doing. Took out all the big names pirates including Arlong the Saw and Don Krieg, which caused destruction of villages and collateral damage, looted and pillaged a few places, threatened Captain Nezumi and the whole base, attacked Captain Nezumi so bad that his mentality is still broken. He sighed when he finished, and Straw Hat had done lots of heinous crimes according to the reports. He took out pirates, sure, but also left a trail of destruction where the battle had taken place and people had suffered. He remembered Silk's words about him saving them and understood what kind of pirate Straw Hat was. The kind that was kind to his friends but looted, killed and destroyed every other place. He hated that kind of pirate more, as they clearly had a morality compass as they protected their own, and yet they could do heinous crimes on anyone they considered not a friend. "I'm gonna catch you, Straw Hat, Unknown Island, Grand Line." A pirate ran through the town with a worried look on his face while repeating the sentence, "Have to tell the captain," over and over again. He finally reached where he had last seen his captain and found him to be still there, drunk and in a brooding mood. "Captain," he yelled, and the red-haired captain, and also the surrounding crew who were also drunk, groaned in response. "Captain, someone bad showed up just now," the pirate yelled frantically, and only then did the red-haired man lift his head to look at him. "Who?" Shanks asked with a scowl. "Me," came a calm response from behind the pirate, and he jumped in fright. Shanks just sighed. "Hawkeye, you chose a really bad time to come pick a fight. We're not in the best of moods right now." "As if I'd want to settle things with a one-armed man," Mihawk scoffed. "I'm here because I came across a couple of interesting pirates and was reminded of a story you once told me. About an interesting boy in a certain village in East Blue." He then reached into his coat, pulled out a bounty poster and handed it to him while adding, "He is quite cute." Shanks saw the poster and his bad mood instantly melted away as he burst out laughing. "Da ha 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 ha." Ben, Lucky Roo, and Yasopp, who had all realized that Mihawk was talking about Luffy, couldn't understand why their captain started laughing. "It's Anchor, right?" Roo asked, walking up to Shanks and taking the poster from his hand. He saw it and fell. Yasopp followed next, and soon, the place was filled with howling, joyous and amused laughter. Ben was the only one calm, but he too had an amused smirk as he looked at the poster. "So he's come at last. Luffy," Shanks exclaimed with an excited grin which soon morphed into an amused one. "But, da ha ha ha. You sure got stuck with one hell of a picture. Eh, Anchor? This calls for a celebration. You joined too." Mihawk, Shanks and crew again started drinking with gusto, and Mihawk reluctantly joined in. "The boy was intriguing," Mihawk said as he sipped wine. "Intriguing? How so?" he asked. "For your transponder snail number?" "What? Anchor wants to talk to the captain," Lucky Roo said, confused. "I was sure he wouldn't want to until he became a great pirate." "I don't think he wanted to talk. His exact words were, 'Better to have it and not need it rather than to need it and not have it.'" "Wow, Anchor said something like that? Guess he's grown up a bit?" He also said that he could have prevented the tragedy that happened on Whitebeard's crew a year ago. That made Shanks stiffen up in shock and his mood change. "What, you mean teach?" Mihawk nodded, and Shanks and Ben exchanged a look. "He said he could have prevented it?" "Yes, prevented it?" "Yes." Shanks became dumbfounded, and so did Ben, as they thought hard about how Luffy could possibly have known about it. "Here's his number, by the way, in case you need it." Mihawk gave Shanks Luffy's number before silently and quickly leaving. Ben immediately pulled out a transponder snail. "Should I call him? Will it even connect?" That was a yes, and Ben dialed his number, but sadly it didn't connect. "You think he knows about the destructive path his brother is on currently? If he said he could have prevented it, then he must somehow know what Teach is capable of, so maybe he does. That begs the question, how does he know? Shanks scratched his chin but came up with no answer. "Well, it has been almost a decade since we last saw him. Who knows what kind of life he's lived?" "True," Ben nodded. "Well, not much we can do for now. Let's just celebrate his first bounty." Might Island, South Blue. Recap. Luffy's adventure in South Blue. After Reiju dropped him off in South Blue, Luffy got lost navigating and landed on Might Island. There, he found a cargo ship that would take him to East Blue, but it was scheduled to leave in 8 months. When he was thinking about what to do, he met a woman called Claire at a hotel, and also a local cat who he named Tabby. Claire was a journalist and was the one who informed him of the Beast's Island, and after Luffy coerced her, navigated and dropped him off at the Beast's Island. Luffy spent around 7 months training there. There was a tribe of hostile humans who lived on the Beast's Island, who worshipped a god called Willia, and he avoided them for the most part. There was one family of outcasts that he managed to befriend though. The outcast Willian family had some FRBE and Luffy saved all their lives during a fight. After that, the outcast Willian family decided to leave the island along with Luffy. So Luffy came back to Might Island along with the Willian family and introduced them to Claire. Before Luffy left for East Blue, he learned that a mafia family had control over Might and a few more surrounding islands. Claire's freedom was being suppressed by the mafia, so in a single afternoon, Luffy dismantled the entire mafia organization and gave Claire her freedom back. He also left the massive hoard of treasure that the mafia family had to Claire, who used that money to begin preparations to launch her own newspaper agency. The outcast Willian family was a family of 4. Saul, the father who ate the Hound Zone devil fruit. Luffy helped him control his powers. Alana, the young daughter who took a liking to Luffy and calls him Aniki. Luffy has infected her with the "I want to become a pirate" virus. Katie, the mother who was pregnant with her second child when Luffy was on the island. She got hurt during a fight with their tribe and Luffy arrived just in time to save her and her unborn child's lives. Allie, Katie's sister who's a doctor. She treated Katie when she was hurt in the battle and with Luffy's help managed to save her sister and her unborn child. The family did welcome the 5th member when Katie gave birth a few months after Luffy left. Saul, Katie, Alana and their new child live together in one house on Might Island currently, while Allie lives with Claire, and also Tabby, the cat. Recap end, and I achieved all this in just a short few months. Tomorrow will be the launch of my new newspaper, Claire declared happily into a transponder snail that had taken on the appearance of a seagull. Yes, that is quite impressive. Big news. Morgans, the president of the World Economy newspaper and one the emperors of the underworld, said in a bored tone. But if this is the reason you've been hounding my secretary to get a single call with me, I'm afraid you're wasting your time. I run a newspaper that is distributed throughout the whole world. Your cute little newspaper that covers just South Blue is insignificant to me, and I do not see as you a rival. Sure, it is impressive that you managed to open a newspaper agency in such a short amount of time, but I don't think it's worthy of my attention. You're also using my news coups, so I don't understand why you're mouthing off. Claire just grinned. I'm not planning on becoming your rival. Are you crazy? As you said, I'm still using your news coups to have my papers distributed after all. There's no way anyone in this world can rival you as long as you're alive. Then, I fail to understand the point of you gloating. I'm not gloating. I'm showing you what I'm capable of. Morgans finally showed something other than boredom. Explain. Let me be straight with you. I basically want a job. I want to work for you, but I don't want to start as some low-level journalist. I want to become someone who makes major decisions and has a lot of power, and so, I did this. I didn't open a small one-island paper agency and started expanding from there. I'm starting by covering all the major islands in South Blue at once. The first issue of my paper will be distributed to the whole of South Blue tomorrow. That's never been done before. Even you started small with a single island before expanding to what it is today. You want to work for me, so you started your own paper company? I failed to see the connection here? Claire's grin only widened. You know how in a job interview, you ask questions that gauge how far one is willing to go, what their abilities, morals, and values are, right? So, consider this paper agency I started as my job interview. Consider how well I run this paper as a test of my abilities. Consider what I print as a test of what my journalistic values are and how far I'm willing to go to get to the truth. Claire finished and Morgan stayed silent for a few seconds before he burst out laughing. Kawahahaha, wow. This is certainly a unique way of asking for a job. What's your name again? Claire. Well, Claire, you have my attention. Show me what you can do. I'll observe your paper for a year and if I'm impressed, You can have a job at my HQ as one of my highest executives. Good. See you in a year then. I want an office with a good view. Kawahaha. I'm looking forward to it. Claire collapsed on her desk with a deep and tired, but happy, sigh. Hee, man, that sure was nerve-wracking. Everything you hoped for? Allie, who was sitting across from her the whole time, asked, passing a cool drink of lemonade. Yes, Claire drawled happily. I still don't get it. I thought you wanted to create your own paper agency? But all this is just so you can get on Morgan's side? You still need to learn more about the world, Claire said as she sipped the lemonade. There's no one who can rival Morgan's. What will anyone use as a paper distributor? Humans on ships. It's fine for an island or two, sure. But if you want to expand and be fast, birds are the only way. And Morgan's is the only one who can employ birds. We have to make a contract with his team about borrowing the help of those birds, and it's one hell of an expensive, tiring and complex contract which makes sure any new newspaper dies before they even launch. Unless someone can employ news coups like Morgan's, no one can oppose him. It's a losing battle no matter what you do. You can open printing presses on each island. That's even more expensive than using news coups. Buying land, building a printing press, and employing each place, there will be no profit for a long time and one wouldn't be able to sustain such a business? I guess it's not possible. Exactly, believe me, if I could I would open my very own agency and reign as the supreme empress of media. But it's just not realistic when Morgan's exists in this world. So, I'll pick the next best thing and aim to become his second in command one day. I see, Allie just nodded. Maru. Tabby jumped up on the table they were on and Claire hugged and buried her head on the cat while it just pawed her forehead. I'm so tired, Claire sighed. I've been up for days dreading this conversation. Thank God he liked my confidence. He could have just as easily dismissed me and laughed in my face too. Well, take rest now. Your first issue is gonna be released tomorrow. Yeep, Claire giggled sleepily as she dozed off. Hours later, she was awoken by what sounded like a shriek. She panicked for a second as she got up but realized that it was the sound of Allie laughing. Tabby didn't even bother moving as it slept peacefully and she went into her home office to find Allie holding a piece of paper and laughing at it. Allie, Claire, you won't believe what just came through. What? Someone just called and said that a guy called Luffy just got his bounty in East Blue. Oh, Claire's face brightened up. I had asked a contact in East Blue to keep an eye out and let me know. Looks like he finally got one. And this is perfect. He's the main reason I got my freedom back and any of this is possible. So it'll be like honoring him. I'll have this bounty poster inside the first ever issue of my paper. Oh, he's gonna hate that. I won't call him a hero or anything. Even though it would be fun to call him that just to mess with him, No, not because of that. Then? Low bounty? No, apparently. It's the highest in East Blue, 45 million? Oh wow. That's amazing. So why would he hate it? And why are you laughing? Allie just giggled as she passed her the bounty poster. PFFTT. What the hell? Ha. Claire collapsed to a nearby chair clutching her stomach. He's so cute. Oh, he's super cute. Claire laughed before having a bright idea. Oh. This deserves more than just to be included in the paper. I'll have this bounty poster printed in the newspaper itself. Caption: the cutest pirate Luffy. I feel a bit bad, but it's not like I gave him this bounty picture. Oh man. This is a great omen. Call the printing press. Need to make some small last-minute adjustments. While Allie began calling the printing press and informing them of the changes, Claire opened a desk drawer and stared at a file with "The Laughing Pirate" written on it. Should I publish this? She wondered. She sat quietly pondering over it, agonizing over wanting to publish it but also knowing that her life would be over if she did. She sighed as she closed the drawer. Can't do it now. The next day, the first issue of Claire's new newspaper, South Blue Truth Chronicle, got distributed all around South Blue with Luffy's bounty picture covering half of the back page. The World Economy newspaper picked up the same caption and image the next day and published it in their paper too, albeit a much smaller image on page 7. And that was distributed throughout the world. Jewelry: Bonnie's ship, Paradise. Recap: Kel is a doctor who Luffy met when he was enslaved in Mariajoy. She was the first person in months to talk to Luffy like he was a person while she treated him, and Luffy took a liking to her and befriended her. The slavers saw that the two were amicably talking, and to break Luffy, they enslaved Kel too. Luffy was horrified to see that Kel was being tortured because of him, and just as they were branding her with the hoof, Luffy unleashed his conquerors for the first time and tried to do a prison break with Kel. That was his first escape attempt, which failed, and both were enslaved again. During Luffy's second escape attempt, he led a rebellion by freeing many slaves including Kel and did a prison break. Although Luffy himself wasn't able to escape, Kel and a few other slaves managed to escape the underground slave camp. Jewelry Bonnie was in Mariajoy at the time to infiltrate the reverie and instead ran into the escaping slaves. She helped them escape the place, and Kel later joined her crew. Kel and Bonnie were in South Blue when they heard the news of a man in a straw hat taking down an entire mafia family. They went to inquire and met Claire on Might Island, who told them about Luffy. Only then did Kel learn that Luffy was still alive. Claire asked about Kel's history with Luffy too, and Kel told her everything about Luffy's second escape attempt, a story which she called the Laughing Pirate. Kel is currently the doctor, quartermaster and first mate of the Bonnie Pirates. Recap end. It was the same dream again. Luffy, laughing hero. She, you guys are great, and I'm not a hero, I'm a pirate. Now what? Laughing hero, what do we do now? Stop calling me a hero already. I'm a pirate, and let's go this way. Bahahahaha. Goofu foo foo foo. Dahahahah. Ha 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 ha. Hee hee hee. Jahihihi. Shishi. Luffy, come back to me. We need to leave now. Leave that bitch alone and let's go. She saw herself scream at a bloody and panting Luffy that stood across from her. But these two will be killed. I can't just leave them here. Luffy wheezed, coughing up blood as he held an unconscious bubble helmet wearing woman with one hand and with his other, supported a bubble helmet wearing kid who was hugging his neck while trembling with fear. Laughing hero. Another slave standing by her side yelled, "You led us here until now. This is your victory. Why are you suddenly protecting our enemies at this last moment?" "I'm not a hero, I'm a pirate, and I'm not protecting my enemies, I'm protecting this kid. She gave me food, she begged me to save her mom, so I'll do it. She's a celestial dragon. They're heartless monsters who don't give a fuck about anyone except themselves. Doesn't matter if they're kids or not. You should know that better than anyone here. There's no reward for you if you save them. All they'll do is turn on you once they're safe." "Ah, I don't care. You guys go on ahead. You said this is a straight route, right?" Luffy, "No, stop, go on, Kel. I'll catch up." "Wait, Kel, let's go. He's suicidal if he wants to go back." "Guess this is the end of the line. I really thought we could escape. Let's just kill ourselves and be done with." Boom. "Damn, he's still alive, and he's come to save us." Luffy, laughing hero, "It's fine, I'll find another way across. You all go that way. But there are guards there, don't worry, you'll be safe if you go that way, I'm sure I saw Gramp." Boom. Flash. Crack. Kel sat up with a start in her bed and sighed when she realized she had had the same dream again. More of a memory really. "That dream again?" Bonnie asked, and Kel saw that her captain was sitting at the desk in her room. "Yeah," Kel sighed. "The one where you and Luffy spend the night in a wild night of passion?" Bonnie asked with a teasing smirk. "That joke is just as funny as the first 100 times you said it." Hee hee, well, today's different. I can finally assign a face to this Luffy, and I have to say, you like him young huh, Kel? What does that mean? Bonnie just threw a newspaper at her, page 7 inches. Kel opened it and froze when she saw him. A small smile spread across her face as she touched his face. He's pouting. "Well, says there that he's the highest bounty in East Blue, so, shouldn't be long before he enters the Grand Line." "Yeah, and we're already at our 5th island on the Grand Line. We are not going back to Reverse Mountain." Kel just gave her captain a deadpan look. "I wasn't gonna ask us to turn around. I'm a Bonnie pirate and my loyalty lies here. I just respect Luffy and want to meet him, that's all. Not some love-struck fool as you seem to think." "Aw, it's fun to tease you though, yeah. What are you doing in my room anyway?" "Oh, the food's run out, so, go get more," Kel just sighed. "You damn gluttonous bitch." Marie joys, inside a certain residential house it was the same dream again. You lowly lesser being, unhand me. How dare you touch me with those filthy hands of yours? Ah, calm down, bubble lady. I'm trying to save you here. Everyone wants to kill you. No, do not touch me. I'll have you whipped 1,000,000 times and hanged. Fine, do whatever you want later, but first, let's get your daughter to safety, okay? Mommy, I'm scared. I don't want to be here. I want to go home. Yes, honey, don't worry. These lesser beings can't do anything to us. Laughing hero. Hand over that celestial bitch. I want to rip her in two. Why are you protecting her, laughing hero? She's the one WHO had you branded. Stop calling me a hero. I'm a pirate. You all are filthy beings. Ah, shut up, bubble lady, stop. All of you. Luffy's the one who led us here. Just follow him and we'll be able to leave this place. Don't be delusional, Kel. As if anyone can get out of here. This momentary freedom is all we'll get. Let's kill as many celestial bastards as we can and then die. Slave, slave. Are you okay? Get up, slave. Honey, what are you doing? Don't touch that filthy thing. Ah, glad you're okay. Hey, thanks for the soup. It was tasty, and you, bubble lady, I don't like you. But take care of your daughter at least. Just carry her and run straight. There are guards there. How dare you order me, you filthy lesser being. I'm going to wait here. My guards will come for me. Mom, just listen to him. We can't stay, don't worry, honey. These beings can't hurt us, we are gods. Slap. Boom. Flash. Crack. A woman in a luxurious oversized bed woke up with a start and sighed, massaging her head. That same memory again. She clapped her hand once and a procession of servants came in who got her out of bed, bathed her, dressed her up, and an hour later, she was sitting at a dining table along with her husband and daughter. It was a silent breakfast, and only when they were due and handed her daughter a newspaper did her husband speak up. You're still reading those things, honey? Yes, father, it's fun to read how the lesser beings live. Well, okay, but do not forget the etiquette lessons you have in the afternoon. Yes, father. The woman silently finished her breakfast and went to her room again, not having said a word the whole time. A few minutes later, her daughter walked in with a stiff face, and the woman, noticing it, glanced at the few servants in the room. The servants understood and left, closing the doors behind them. Only once the two were all alone, did their facades drop and both gave a genuine smile. What's wrong? The woman asked, picking her daughter up and sitting on the bed. You looked stiff. I was just trying to hold back, the daughter excitedly yelled as she opened up the newspaper. You went through it without me, again? The woman pouted. I told you that we should read the paper together? The daughter was too excited to listen as she turned the pages and grinned as she pointed at a particular image on page 7. The woman froze as soon as her eyes fell on him. He's alive! He's alive! The daughter cheered, jumping excitedly on the bed while the woman was too busy reading about him. Luffy, so that's his name. She traced a finger over his face and a small smile spread across her face. Ace's boat, paradise. PFFF cough, ha 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 ha, cough cough, ha ha ha. Ace coughed, spitting out the food he was eating when he saw his brother's image printed in the newspaper. Oh man, this is so funny, ha ha ha. Luffy must be fuming right about now, ha 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 ha. He calmed down only a few minutes later and smiled lovingly at his little brother's picture before tearing it out. He was near the starting islands of paradise, so he hoped he would run into him and tease the hell out of him with the pouting picture. Wonder how much stronger he's gotten. He muttered with a chuckle, but didn't think he would have grown that much. As far as he knew, Luffy had stayed on Dawn Island for the past 3 years and nothing too exciting would have probably happened. Liz's ship, Paradise Honey Queen, panted as she dodged by making only her waist fluid and leaning back more than a normal human kid, just as a fist passed over her head. She was about to laugh, but she felt something hit her knee and she screamed in pain. Another yell of pain followed, and Honey turned to see that Anne had also been hit harshly on her midriff. Gah! You bitch! Honey glared at Liz, who was standing across from them and was responsible for hitting them. What did you just say? Liz growled. Honey groaned as she collapsed on her back, and Anne soon followed too. I called you a bitch. Oh ho, getting comfortable, are we? Do you want me to send you back to Clockwork Island so that they can hand you over to the Marines? Well, if I'm disrespectful, you hit me, and if I'm respectful, you still hit me, so, what does it matter? She's got a fair point, Kiki phased out and agreed. Well, as long as you train, I don't care, Liz said sitting next to her and Anne. I understand you hitting me without restraint given our history and all, but you're just as harsh or maybe even harsher with your own sister, Honey said as she eyed Anne who was panting hard. Well, our enemies won't go easy on us. She wanted to come to the Grand Line, so this is the least she should be able to take. If not, I'll take her back right this instant. No, Anne groaned, this is nothing, I can take it. Good. Take rest now. We'll continue in an hour, Anne nodded while Honey rolled her eyes at them. You're getting good. Liz suddenly complimented Honey. You're learning to use your devil fruit in better ways. Yeah, Liz scowled not liking her response. You're a logia user. People will tremble before you if you just used your fruit effectively and I'm helping you achieve that. If you really don't want that, if you really want nothing more in life other than wanting to harass normal people, then get off my ship. Someone like me or Luffy will again come to kick your butt and you'll end up in prison. Honey just glared at her for a couple of seconds before averting her eyes. Now, calm down, Liz, Anne placated before the atmosphere could get any worse. Luckily, a man came running in while holding the newspaper. Captain, Cap Goo. The man got a nosebleed when he saw Honey, who wasn't wearing any clothes, and fell. God, do you have to be naked? Liz sighed. Hey, this is a lifestyle choice. I'm a nudist. Honey said offended. If your men can't handle it, it's their fault. I'll only wear clothes when I feel like it. Okay, Liz said as she looked at the man. What's up, Kane? Ah, Captain, Kane got up wiping his nose. Bommy kept saying to keep an eye on news or bounties of a person called Luff. Bommy jumped out of Liz and lunged at the man snatching the newspaper from him. Her eyes excitedly scanned the newspaper and she gasped loudly when she spotted him. Oh my god. This is amazing, ehehehehe. Kahahaha. What's gotten into you? Liz asked coming up to her and saw the picture too. She spluttered out a laugh before becoming just like Liz. Ellie, Maddie and Kiki also phased out and fell to the floor cackling. Anne soon followed the same fate and Honey lost it even more. Marine HQ, Sengoku's office, Sengoku slapped his desk in joy and laughed as he looked at Luffy's bounty poster. Serves him right. Suru, did you see this? Yeah, saw it the morning and got all the laughter out of my system. Suru smiled as she studied the bounty poster, but seemed to be in a bit of a distressed state. Ha. Whoever took this picture, give them a raise, I'm promoting them. That would be kinda hard. Well, no matter what, having an image like this for a pirate is a bit unconventional. So I asked Branu about it. And apparently, he got orders from here to use this image. Sengoku's laughter died down and he finally noticed Suru's distressed state, becoming confused. From here? What, Garp did this? Suru shook her head with a sigh. No, apparently, the Germa did this. What? The Germa asked us to use this image. Is something wrong with my hearing? Are you saying the Germa Kingdom from North Blue did this? The Vinsmokes? Why? How do they even know Luffy? Suru sighed deeply. I called and asked. Judge had no idea what I was talking about, so he asked his kids and apparently, the princess did it. Vinsmoke Reiju. Why? She said it was just a prank. Then I asked her how she knew Luffy and she said. Suru paused and took a deep sigh before continuing, and I'm quoting her here. He was my cute little SX slave. What? Bang. Crack. Sengoku stared dumbfoundedly at his desk which had just broken because he had slapped his fist on it too hard. Hey, guess you do need a desk guy. Forget that. What did she mean he was her SX slave? When? His eyes widened as he came to a conclusion with the information he had. Oh god. When he disappeared, he was sold as a slave and ended up with the Germa? That's what I think too. Oh no, don't let this information get to Garp. Who knows what he'll do, cover it up. Calm down, already did all that. A few know that Germa asked for some random pirate's image to be changed, but they don't know why. Only Judge, his children, me and you know about the SX slave part. And if anyone asks in the future, they'll think I assigned the picture. Good, Sengoku sighed. So that's where he was, poor boy. Good thing he escaped. He didn't escape, Suru said, and with another deep sigh added, I thought he had escaped too. So asked the Reiju brat why she was letting him be if she knew where he was, and her answer was that she let him go. Really? Hard to imagine that given their ruthlessness? Yeah. I asked why and she said, and I'm again quoting her, he deeply satisfied me in bed, so after a few months, I rewarded him by letting him go. Completely serious, Garp should never find out. Garp should never find out, you need a desk guy. Sigh, I need a desk guy, Germa ship, somewhere in paradise. Reiju groaned, burying her face into her pillow in her room. What the hell, Luffy? Why the hell did Vice Admiral Suru of all people call me asking about you? She grumbled, hurling curses at him. It was just supposed to be a prank. There were systems in place if the Germa ever wanted to interfere with a bounty poster of someone. They just had to call a faceless marine, tell him their request, and that faceless marine would officially take down the request and then execute it. If the request was something outrageous like changing Kaido's bounty poster, the faceless marine would run it up his superiors and Sengoku or someone high-ranking would learn of it and call them to ask why they were requesting that. But for some random nobody, nothing much would have happened. The faceless marine would just tell other faceless marines to comply with the request, and it would be done. They did it a lot with bounties of certain people in North Blue, like changing the epithet or changing dead or alive to only alive, if they ever wanted, so it shouldn't have been a big deal. Even if some high-ranking marine came to know about it, they wouldn't care much. So all that should have happened was for the faceless marine to take down her request, tell their bounty assigning branch that the order came from higher ups and they would just execute it. And that is what seemed to have happened. But after the bounty was released, people like Suru seemed to have finally noticed it, found out that the Germa had asked for it and called to inquire. Suru is close to Sengoku, isn't she? Reiju wondered and was starting to regret pulling the prank, realizing she had been too rash and stupid. Luffy had so many secrets, so she should have been more careful. She was in paradise currently on a mission when Judge had suddenly called her and asked about this matter. She was shocked to find that Suru of all people had called to ask about it. She, of course, had a story ready and confessed it was she who had requested the change as a prank to her SX slave. It was a well-known story among the servants in the kingdom and also her brothers that she had had a SX slave, and some still remembered Luffy's face. No other explanation would have fit the persona she had, and Judge wouldn't be tolerant of any other reasons either. He escaped. Hunt him down. He's my friend. A friend with a non-noble and compassion for him? You're like Sanji? I'll lock you up in a dungeon? He's my boyfriend. A non-noble as a boyfriend? Dungeon? He's my captain and I'll escape this hellish place and go spend my life with him in Sanji, dungeon. At least with the story of him being her SX slave, she could say something like, he was so good in bed and I was so satisfied that I granted his request, and even her father would back off, not wanting to have in detailed conversations about such matters with his daughter. So, she had gone with that story and told the same to Suru too. Judge had asked a bit more about it, but when she purposefully made it 2SXUAL, he stopped asking midway. Her brothers didn't care much and the topic was dropped. She sighed, only now seriously thinking of the implications. It was fine now as Luffy was a nobody, but when he becomes famous, wouldn't this become a problem? Wouldn't Judge ask more questions then? She picked up a transponder snail and called him, but as always, it didn't connect. She sighed as she pulled out Luffy's picture, the cute pouting picture, from under her pillow and scowled at him. You bastard. This is all your fault. Who the hell are you? You should have told me high-ranking people in the Marines know you. She trailed off, staring at his picture for a long time, her face slowly morphing from irritation to a look of longing. I miss you. Going merry, East Blue. Luffy sighed darkly and almost crushed the transponder snail in frustration when it didn't connect to Reiju. Is she okay? He knew of the system in place with which the Germa requested changes in bounty posters, and if he was a nobody, nothing would happen. Well, he was almost a nobody currently, but Sengoku surely had an eye on him. He was under no delusion that Sengoku was on his side, and if he ever publicly did something, he would be the one of the first to order his capture. And having this link between him and Reiju known by him seemed bad. No wait, wouldn't he have already called Judge to ask about the poster? He started panicking as he tried to call her again and again, but to no avail. Damn it, damn it, damn it. He circled around in the crow's nest with a blank look on his face, his fingers running through his hair, for a few seconds before he took a deep breath and calmed himself down. She's a smart girl. He sat back down calmly. If I was Reiju and was suddenly ambushed by Judge and Sengoku about this, what would I do? He thought for a few seconds before his lips curled up into an amused smile. She'll tell them I was her SX slave. That story was already well known among the servants, so she would definitely use that story. He thought about it a bit more and came to all the correct conclusions that she would have said that he had satisfied her in bed, so she let him go. If Judge or Sengoku pried too much, she would just start going into explicit sexual detail, which would deter any further questioning. Okay, she's safe, he repeated to calm himself down. Everything would be fine, at least for now. Once he gets famous enough though, she should still be fine, as she could probably explain it away by saying, "Wow, I had no idea he would get this strong," but once Sanji gets his bounty too, that's when the real problem begins. Even if Sanji's poster is the same as in the story which depicts a drawing, Judge would still pay attention to the name and the similarities. And the coincidences would have piled up too high for Reiju to feign ignorance then. Man, this is gonna blow up in our faces one day, huh? Luffy sighed. Well, I guess I gotta save her way before whole cake then. He just sat in the crow's nest thinking about the future until Nami yelled from below, "Luffy, come back down." He sighed, shelving away his thoughts, and jumped down. "Done laughing?" he asked sternly. Nami giggled, grabbing and dragging him into the kitchen. "Yes, now come inside. Everyone's waiting." "Hey Luffy." The others chorused, and Sanji pushed a plate of delicious meat towards him with a smile. As an apology for laughing in your face like that. They all had, of course, completely lost it when they saw his poster and heard his anguished scream. Luffy sighed but smiled as he sat down at the table and began eating. "So what's the story with the poster?" Zoro asked. "How did that happen?" "The inventor genius crewmate. She's the one who took that picture." "Really? How did the Marines end up with it?" "She kinda has contacts and can influence bounty posters," the Marines issue. "She had joked about making this picture as my bounty poster when I become the Pirate King." "PFTT, that would be hilarious." Usopp laughed. "Yeah, at least she got it out of her system now. She won't do it for my future bounties, I hope." Everyone chuckled. "So she can just influence bounty posters? Is she someone in the Marines? And she's someone that powerful?" Nami asked. "No, not in the Marines. You'll understand when you meet her." They sighed but accepted the answer. "Anyway, the amount is amazing, 45 million. That's the highest in East Blue." She yes. "Don't be happy about that, idiot," Nami snapped. "We'll have Marines and bounty hunters after us now. We cannot stay in East Blue anymore." "Good thing we're leaving then. One last stop and then we head to the Grand Line. More stops if APIs is real," he added in his mind. "One last stop? Where?" Zoro asked. "The town of the beginning and the end," Lunk deferentially. "Beginning and end? What's that supposed to mean?" Usopp asked. "It's where Gold Roger was born and also executed," Nami explained. "It's the last island before the Grand Line." "Gold D. Roger," Luffy corrected. "His name was Goldie Roger?" Sanji asked, confused. "Not Goldie. It's Gold D like Monkey D. Luffy, it's Gold D. Roger." "He was your family?" Usopp yelped in shock. No, it's just an initial." "So it's not important then?" "No, it's very important." "Why?" "No clue, moving on." Nami sighed, ignoring the infuriating conversation. "We'll be there in a couple of days." Oh, wow. This place is huge," Usopp exclaimed as they docked the Mary at the port in Logatown and took in the sights. "So this where the age of pirates began," Sanji commented, looking around the bustling streets. Zoro looked at the place too before his eyes fell on his captain, who was wearing a black jacket with the hoodie up, essentially hiding his face. "What's with the getup, Luffy?" "He has a bounty. Of course, he has to hide his face," Nami interjected. "Actually, I'm kinda famous here in Logatown. I was here a few months ago and had a lot of fun with the Marines. Now that I have a bounty, there's no way they will not recognize me." "Oh no, what did you do?" I'll tell you some other time in detail, but the Marine captain here knows me." "You two saw him too," Luffy said, pointing at Zoro and Nami. "He was on Silk's Island when we went to investigate there along with Tash." Zoro internally gasped, remembering the Kuina look-alike. I don't think he saw you too, but still, be careful. Right. Alright. I got some ingredients to buy, Sanji said before adding, and some ladies to woo. I had to buy some equipment, I had to buy some clothes. I need to buy some swords, Zoro said before turning to Nami, who gave a bright smile in return, sure, at 300% interest. Damn which. Nami, Zoro's swords fall into the necessary category. But Luffy, it's Zoro, fair point. Okay, you can extort money from him. Yay. Hey, she anyway. Listen. Luffy clapped his hands getting all their attention. We need a few things. First, he took out around 500,000 berries from the bag and handed it to Usopp. Get a few good guidebooks for ship repairing and then buy all the tools we'll need to fix the Mary in case of damages. Get high quality tools, wood too. Ooh, that's a good idea. Leave it to me. Next, anyone knows how to make bug repellent? Bug repellent? I do, Usopp and also Sanji said, but why? We'll need it for the Grand Line. Buy ingredients to make it, or if they're readily available, buy it. Just enough for a day is all we'll need. They didn't fully understand but agreed. Next, he handed a 100,000 to Nami. Buy all the cartography tools you want. Oh, alright. Next, he handed another 100,000 to Sanji. Any cooking utensils you want. I already have most things, don't need this much. Really, I was wanting new kitchen appliances all the time. A better oven? A deep fryer? A juicer? Ice cream maker? Nothing? Sanji thought about it for a second before snatching the 100,000. Luffy, Nami snapped. This is unnecessary spending. It's fine. It's the last island before the Grand Line. Splurge a bit. You buy good clothes and whatnot too. He said, handing her another 10,000, which had her smiling again. He next handed another 100,000 to Zoro. This is for weights and anything else you want. For your swords. Go to Ipponmatsu's arms shop and look in the barrel of cheap swords. I don't want cheap swords. I want more to buy good ones. Just look in the barrel. You'll find what you want. Luffy, Nami complained. You said I could extort him. She don't worry, you'll get more chances in the future. Hey, what else? Luffy pondered but couldn't think of anything more. Alright, that's it, I guess. Disperse. Now, how do I find Dragon? Luffy wondered as he walked through the streets. He could meet him if everything played out like in the story, but it was only when they are leaving that Dragon shows himself. And Luffy wanted to have a long talk with him. He jumped up on buildings and looked for high vantage points from where one could have a wide view of the place, as Dragon would probably be observing him. He waved in all directions after getting on top of a tall building, hoping Dragon would see it and show himself. But no one came. As he ran through over the roofs, he spotted a few people he recognized, like Daddy Masterson and Carol, and also many people in full body cloaks who turned out to be Buggy's crew. He also spotted Alvida, the slim version, but it didn't look like Alvida and Buggy knew each other. He had taken out Alvida much earlier than in the story and also had sent the whole body of Buggy flying, so looked like the two hadn't run into each other yet. But both had probably come to Logatown to look for him once they saw his bounty. Maybe they'll meet now and join up. He didn't care too much either way and moved on to find Dragon. He kept searching, and it wasn't long before he finally found something that could lead him to Dragon. Or rather, a someone that made him visibly jump in surprise and happiness. It was a young orange-haired woman sitting at a cafe reading a newspaper. She was wearing a plain white shirt and a short black skirt with thigh-high boots. On her head sat a crimson newsboy cap with gold goggles, and she had distinctive roundish eyes. It was Koala. Is Sabo here too? He wondered with unbridled excitement and ran to her, but just as he got close, she disappeared without a trace. Luffy came to a stop, looking around everywhere but couldn't spot her. They're like spies, aren't they? She probably spotted me running at her and thought I was an enemy. He waved in all directions, but seeing the strange looks the passing people gave him, stopped. Right, shouldn't attract attention. He stood in place thinking for a while before he decided to just walk around. Koala had definitely seen him, so she would make contact with him or even let Dragon know that someone had spotted her, and maybe Dragon would then see him. So, he just slowly walked, waiting for them to make contact. Koala was tailing a person of interest that was associated with a kidnapping case. An entire town of more than 100 people had disappeared, and clues were pointing to a particular slavers group. Months of investigation by many members of the Revolutionary Army had led them to finding many players involved in the kidnapping. A few marine officials, a few pirates, an underworld broker, and plenty of footmen, which further led them to believe that the kidnapping of entire villages, towns was done on a regular basis. A lead had been found as to where the kidnapped people were being taken. A man who was apparently responsible for paying footmen off was found, and if they could just catch him in the act, they could capture and interrogate him. And Koala had been tailing that man for a week. He was sitting in a restaurant currently and Koala was at a cafe right across the street with a clear view of him. She had been at this for a week already and was bored out of her mind as the man followed the same dumb and normal routine every day. "Are we even sure this is our guy?" Koala tiredly whispered to herself. The face matched the description they had gotten from interrogating a pirate, but they still had to be sure and catch him in the act before they interrogated the person of interest. Just as she was sipping a cup of coffee, a new person caught her attention. A man in a jacket with a hood on suddenly stopped mid-step when he saw her, and the next moment, he was running at her. She quickly used the crowd to slip away from his sight and hid behind a building. She then peeked from around the corner to see what the man was doing, and she found him looking in all directions looking for her. He then sighed, and crossed his arms as if he was thinking before he began, "Is he waving?" She just observed hiving him strange looks. "Stop waving, think for a second," before he pulled up his sleeves as if to show he had nothing to hide while also exposing the cuffs he wore, before quickly hiding the cuffs again and started walking randomly. Her transponder snail started ringing and she picked it up. "Want to go?" A voice that belonged to another revolutionary called Bunny Joe came through. "Yeah, go on, call Lick." After the very short conversation, Koala discreetly started following the man in the jacket just as Bunny Joe, who was keeping watch from a distance, took her place in keeping an eye on the person of interest. Koala saw the mystery man randomly walk around, enter a woodwork shop, order something to be made, stop at a snack store to buy some snacks, and gobble it all up in a second before resuming the aimless walking. She could tell that he was aware that he was being followed and was also keeping his arms in plain view, showing that he was unarmed. He clearly wanted to talk, so Koala finally decided to make contact to see who he was. Luffy was getting impatient when suddenly, someone casually slid up next to him, linked their arms together while at the same time, pressing something into his waist before he could even react. "Hi. Feel this?" Koala cheerfully said, pressing something into his waist. "That's a gun which fires a special bullet which will enter your body and explode, so don't try anything, okay?" She finally got to see the face under the hood and was first surprised to find out that it was a young man. His face split into a huge grin when she threatened him, though, which sent alarm bells ringing in her head. She became vigilant as she studied her surroundings, trying to see if this was some sort of trap. While Luffy felt chills running down his spine. "This is so awesome, I feel like I'm in a spy movie." "Move," Koala said, losing her cheeriness and deciding to change locations. "Oh, forgot to say hi." "Hi," Luffy greeted as he complied, and both started walking with their arms linked on the crowded street. "So you gonna take me to a secluded area to interrogate me? Or knock me out and I'll wake up tied to a chair with the light of a single bulb beaming on me? What's wrong with this guy?" Koala's sweat dropped. Neither. We'll just walk and talk." "Oh well, that's fine too. Right. First, what's in the bag?" Koala asked, eyeing the bag he was holding in his other hand. "Stuff. Is Sabo here?" Koala was taken aback but kept a neutral face. "Who?" "I know your name is Koala and you're in the Revolutionary Army," he said, causing Koala's eyes to widen, which then turned into a suspicious glare. "Who are you? How do you know me?" "Sabo's brother." "Brother? Yeah, funny. He's never mentioned having any brother?" "He did lose his memories." She froze mid-step before her gaze on him turned icy cold. She then discreetly dragged him to a secluded alleyway before roughly shoving him up against a wall while choking him. "I'm gonna have you spit out how you found out about Sabo," Koala hissed hatefully, "and after you give me everything, you will stop. You will never ever try to search for Sabo. You will never even think of getting in touch with Sabo. If I ever see you again, I'll personally rip your throat out." "I don't understand the hostility," Luffy said, utterly confused. "Sabo wants nothing to do with you or your disgusting family, so stay away from him." Things clicked in place and Luffy understood why she was suddenly so hostile. "Oh, you're thinking I'm from the noble family that raised him? Sabo remembers that?" He doesn't have to. Just the mention of going back there makes his whole body shiver in protest. Every fiber in his body is sure of not wanting to go back home to his stupid family or even wanting to remember that part of his life. We know he was a noble, and I know about the shit families like yours that live in Goa, so I can understand what kind of S you are. Shit families like mine, huh? That's gonna be hilarious in some time, Luffy said with a chuckle but then frowned with a deep sigh. It's that bad, huh? He knows where he was picked up from, so if he really wanted, he could have easily come back to Dawn Island to jog his memories back, Luffy thought with a sigh. Looked like the hate he had for his family and all the noble culture subconsciously made him not want to go back or even get his memories back. Well, you've got a few things wrong. Luffy began to clear things up. I'm not Sabo's blood brother. He has 2 more brothers that he chose to make, Ace and me. The 3 of us lived in the Grey Terminal together. You know about the Grey Terminal and the fire? Some of the hostility died down and she released some pressure off of his neck. I've heard of it. Elaborate. Sabo ran away from home and came to live in the Grey Terminal. That's where he, Ace and I met. We spent pretty much every day together, hunting for food, sparring, playing pranks, dining and dashing. We even built tree houses and lived in it. All 3 of us wanted to become pirates but also wanted to be captains, so we decided that we'll all set sail on our own pirate journeys when we turned 17. Sabo, a pirate? Koala asked with disbelief. She, once he gets his memories back, I'm gonna tease him, and Ace too, that only I'm a pirate captain now. Oh no, he's gonna be so devastated, Koala said in a monotone. You're no fun, Luffy said with a disappointed sigh, causing Koala to grow a tick mark before he continued. Anyway, we finally exchanged sake cups one day and became sworn brothers. Shortly after that, his sperm donor spotted him and came to get him back. Pirates were hired, we were threatened, and Sabo decided to go back to keep me and Ace safe. We let him, and that's the biggest mistake of our lives. Koala slowly backed off, hearing the absolute anguish in his voice, and her face softened slightly. We didn't know at the time. We knew he didn't like his family, but just didn't know how much. The fire happened shortly after that and Sabo set sail the very next day. We got to know that his boat was shot at by the celestial bastard, and we learned he died. He had left a letter for us saying how he couldn't live with his family anymore, so he was leaving to become a pirate early. No new letter ever came from him, so a few weeks later, it finally set in that he had died. And, how did you find out he's not dead now? Well, a couple of years ago, I made another brother. He told me that Sabo was still alive and had just lost his memories. Koala sighed softly, not knowing what to think. Nobody actually knew Sabo's life before he was picked up other than that he was a noble, so what the stranger was saying could actually be true. She was very inclined to believe him, but there were still many suspicious things about him. Like who this other brother was, how and why he knew about Sabo and her too, so she decided to pry more. Hey, what's going on here? A shout interrupted them and they saw a marine entering the alleyway. Both quickly ran out onto the street and were again walking side by side with arms linked and Koala still pressing a gun into his waist. You still don't trust me? Let's assume everything you said is true. How do you know me? Well, you and Sabo hang out a lot, right? Again, how do? Just tell me if Sabo is here first, Luffy snapped, getting impatient. No, he's not here. Oh, Luffy visibly deflated as his shoulders drooped down. His legs lost a bit of strength as he dragged his feet and a frown hung on his face. Koala actually felt bad imagining how he must be feeling if everything he said was true. Before she could do anything though, Luffy bounced back to his happy attitude so fast that it almost gave her whiplash. Oh well, guess I'll meet him another time then. Okay, now answer my questions. This new brother, who is he? How does he know about Sabo and me? That's a long story. I don't want to tell it again and ag. She poked the gun into him as she hissed, "Wah, have a choice?" Ooh, another cool line I always wanted to hear in real life. Luffy cheered and Koala got ticked off. Well, he's similar to Sabo in irritating me at least. Take this seriously, damn it. She. Just then, Luffy spotted Zoro walking towards them from the other side of the street. Their eyes met and Zoro looked questioningly at the girl in Luffy's arms. Who is he? Koala asked, noticing the exchange, wondering if she was about to be ambushed. He's my crewmate. Relax, will you? Sheesh, how paranoid can you be? Koala again got ticked off and wanted to bash his skull in. Yo Zoro, it hasn't even been half an hour since we landed and you're already walking hand in hand with a new girl. You really are a playboy. Caught off guard, Luffy gaped at him, looked at the linked arms, and then looked up at Koala's face that now had a shit-eating grin. Oh? You're a playboy? You play with the hearts of young women like me? She said in a faux meek voice, finally getting a chance to get back at him. Luffy rolled his eyes in annoyance before his eyes fell on Zoro's waist, which still only held Watto. Still haven't found the arms shop. I was on my way to it. It's right there. Luffy pointed at the arms shop that was ahead of them, which was behind Zoro, which meant he had walked right past it. You were lost, huh? I wasn't lost. Luffy snickered as he turned to Koala. You won't believe me, but this guy can get lost on a straight road. I don't, Zoro snapped. Please, as if anyone is that directionally challenged, Koala scoffed. Bet you 1,000 berries you're wrong, you're on. Hey, she, irritated. Zoro decided to shoot back and pointed at Koala with his chin. Anyway, aren't you gonna introduce us? I need to know all the women in your life so that I can find out which one killed you out of jealousy? Luffy groaned and Koala grinned, knowing he didn't like it. Oh mister, please tell me I'm not just another girl you've decided to toy with, she drawled. Luffy just stared blankly at her before turning to Zoro and grinned. This is Koala. Because she's cute and cuddly like a koala bear. That brought her laughter to an abrupt stop and the atmosphere around them suddenly turned icy. The fuck did you just say? She growled, feeling an intense need to pull the trigger and kill him right then and there. She thankfully controlled herself and kicked him hard on his shin instead. That only made Luffy grin wider and she vowed to kill him one day. Zoro promptly backed away, not even saying a word lest the fury turned towards him. She heavily sighed, controlling her anger, and hissed, "Let's go," as she pulled him away. Okay. See y'all later, Zoro. The shop is right there, Luffy reiterated, pointing at the shop as he was being pulled away by her. Zoro's sweat dropped watching them go. He had seen that the woman was pressing something into Luffy's waist and thought he was in danger, but seeing how carefree Luffy was, knew it wasn't anything dangerous. He shrugged, making his way to the arms shop. You call me that one more time and I'm ending you, Koala hissed. Okay. Luffy chuckled before getting to the main point. Take me to Dragon. Koala froze as she stared incredulously at him. Are you seriously asking to meet the leader of the Revolutionary Army? Who do you think he is? He's not gonna just mat? Please don't make me do mental gymnastics. I know he's here on the island. Just tell him it's an old friend and take me to him. An old friend? Didn't you just say you're Sabo's brother? Why can't I be both? Koala gave him a long calculating stare before going to an alleyway again and scaling the side of the building to get to the roof while dragging Luffy along. She then pulled out a transponder snail and called Dragon. Sir? Yes? Came Dragon's deep voice. Someone who says he's your old friend wants to meet you. He somehow already knew you were here. An old friend. Koala waited silently, and a few seconds later, Dragon spoke up again. Bring him there. The snail disconnected and Luffy tilted his head in confusion. Why are you guys so cryptic? You can speak in full sentences and explain clearly, can't you? We don't have an encryptor transponder snail here, Koala said as she faced him and patted him down, going through his clothes to check for any weapons. What? Well, they don't usually do it here much, but it's better to be cautious. It took a moment for Luffy to understand what she was implying, and when he did understand, he gulped. How the hell did this slip my mind? Calls can be easily wiretapped by the Marines. He hurriedly thought back to all the calls he had made and tried to remember if he had said anything important. Calls with Makino usually just included how she was, how Silk and the others were, and what they were doing. They hadn't talked about any otherworldly stuff, so he was safe. He had talked to Silk about his Gramps once, but that wasn't anything too important. Calls with Liz and Anne usually just included banter, so nothing incriminating there either. Calls with Sengoku though, he had had only 2 calls with Sengoku where he had said lots of things that would get him in deep trouble, but the calls were made using the transponder snails at marine bases. Also, Suru herself had bad-mouthed the celestial dragons on the call, so they were probably somehow encrypted. And that was pretty much all he called, and he sighed in relief that he hadn't said anything he shouldn't have. Man, I really want a phone. Stuck with them? Koala said, bringing him out of his thoughts, and he saw that she was pointing at his cuffs. Bracelets, Luffy answered, clicking them off and back on. Who the hell wears bracelets shaped like cuffs? Yeah, heard it so many times now, then don't wear them. But I want to. Koala rolled her eyes at him before eyeing the bag. You need to show me what's in it. Around 175 million, Luffy said, opening it, and she gasped. From where did you get so much money? Not important. Let's go to Dragon now. Right, Koala sighed, and after making sure that only cash was present in the bag, jumped down the building along with Luffy and led the way towards Dragon. They were going back towards the cafe where he had first seen Koala, and before long, they felt a gust of wind sweep over them. Both knew what that meant, and they looked around before they spotted a cloaked man standing atop a building, and Luffy grinned as their eyes met. Dragon was actually waiting for Luffy to show up in Logia Town. He had seen the bounty poster, he had let out a small chuckle at it, and knew he would be leaving East Blue soon, so would pass by Logia Town too. He was in the area, so it was perfect timing for him to see his son once at least. And when Koala called saying an old friend wanted to meet him, Luffy was the last person he had on his mind. He had seen the hooded person next to Koala, and only when he swept a gust of wind over them, did the person look up, and Dragon was surprised to stare into his son's eyes. He pretty much knew next to nothing about Luffy, always kept a distance so that no one would ever suspect a connection, and now, his son had apparently been seeking him out of his own accord. Does he just know me, or know that I'm his dad too? If so, how did he know I was on the island? A million different questions passed through his mind as he saw Luffy and Koala discreetly make their way to an alleyway before scaling up the side of the building to get to the rooftop he was on, and soon, his son was standing across from him. Father and son, arguably one of the most influential father-son duo in recent history, stared at each other as they simultaneously lifted their respective hoods up. Yo! Luffy cheerfully waved. Dragon's face showed more surprise than anything else as he stared at him for a couple of moments more before speaking. You know me, he stated rather than asking before sighing slightly. The old man slip up and tell you? Gramps? No, my brother Toldo have a brother? I got 3, Luffy said, raising 3 fingers before clarifying, sworn brothers. I see, sorry to interject, but just who is this? Koala piped up from the side. There was an awkward silence which stretched on for more than necessary, as Luffy didn't know if Dragon was okay with his subordinates knowing he was his son, and Dragon didn't know Luffy's feelings regarding him or if he even acknowledged him as his father. So neither spoke, and Koala looked awkwardly at the two of them, wondering what kind of complicated relationship the two had. Can we go somewhere private? Have a lot to talk about? Luffy said, breaking the silence, and Dragon nodded before wordlessly leading the way with Luffy and Koala following behind. Where's Sabo? Luffy asked as they leapt over rooftops. A mission in West Blue, Dragon answered readily, much to Koala's surprise. How do you know him? He's one of my brothers, you know, before the fire. Oh, Dragon's eyes widened at the coincidence. I'm sorry, I didn't know, he was shot by a Sele. Yeah, I know. It's fine, there's no way you could have known. There was a lull before Dragon decided to ask about his other brothers. So your other brothers? One of them told you about me? Who are they? Ace and Leo. You might know Ace. He's the 2nd Division commander on Whitebeard's crew. You mean Fire Fist Ace? Koala asked in surprise. Yeah, and he knows about me. No, that would be Leo. He was a musician. I only met him 2 years ago, so it was just me and him who became brothers. Ace and Sabo don't know about him. And how does he know about me? You're just as suspicious as Koala, huh? Luffy chuckled, causing Koala to gape at him at the audacity and Dragon to grin at him. Well, you know who I am, so you should understand. Yeah, just relax, I'll tell you everything in private. Dragon nodded, but Koala tsked audibly in disappointment and frustration, causing Luffy to grin at her. He wanted to poke more fun at her, but they reached their destination then. It was a normal-looking residential building, just like all the others around it, and they entered through the roof. They then jumped all the way down to the lowest floor before going down to the basement. After going through a couple of locked doors and another hidden secret door, they came to a flight of stairs that led further down. Wow, you guys have an underground lair? It was like underground floors, each floor being the size of 2 normal houses, and looked like it went down at least 3 floors. That giant army commander make this? You mean Morley? Dragon said, surprised that Luffy knew about them so much. No, she's usually in West Blue. We have others with capabilities too. Luffy hummed in acknowledgement before they came across a man in a bowler hat with a teal feather sticking out who was hauling two unconscious men. "Ah, hello sir," the man greeted Dragon before explaining the two other men who were being dragged. The suspect finally acted. He was paying off this other man who is a known slaver. "Oh come on really?" Koala groaned. "I tail him for a week and he doesn't do anything. I go away for 20 minutes and he finally acts." "Well, it's because you went away that he dared to do something. Guess he noticed you but he didn't know about me." "I see." Luffy was staring at the man in the bowler hat, knowing that he vaguely remembered him but couldn't pinpoint from where exactly. "There are slaver groups acting on this island?" he asked. "Not kidnappings from this island as far as we know," Dragon answered. "But mass village and town abductions are tied with these two and they perform transactions from here." Mass abductions, that finally made Luffy remember where he knew the man in the bowler hat from. He's the man who Robin meets when she gets blasted away by Kuma and gets sent to Tequila Wolf. Are the towns and villages not affiliated to the world government? Dragon's eyes widened with surprise and happiness. Did his son know about the tyranny of the world government? Yes. So Tequila Wolf then? Luffy nodded in confirmation. 3 sets of eyes snapped at him. "What do you know about Tequila Wolf?" "Ah sorry, if you're asking where it is, I don't know either. If I did, I would have already gone and destroyed that fucking bridge." "Bridge? What bridge?" the man in the bowler hat asked. Luffy tilted his head. "Do they not know that it's a bridge? Or was he remembering wrong from the story?" No, Robin definitely lands there and it was definitely a bridge. And the Revolutionary Army definitely frees them. Oh, that's a few months from now. Guess they don't know about it yet." "Tequila Wolf is a bridge. A huge bridge. Looks like you know more about it than we do," Dragon said with a curious smile. "Let's go inside. Joe, hold off on the interrogation until we get more info." "Yes sir." Joe nodded and dragged the 2 prisoners further down to a lower floor while Dragon walked towards what looked like an office. Koala also started following after Joe, but Luffy caught her. "You're included in private too." Koala began sweating, coming to all sorts of wrong conclusions. Sir, I'm sorry for hitting and kicking you before." "What? I'm sorry if my actions offended you, sir," she continued, thinking that Luffy and Dragon were old friends since Dragon readily answered any question Luffy asked. Luffy stared at her for a second before getting a mischievous glint in his eyes. "Okay, that's better. Don't do it next time, okay?" he said in a haughty tone before turning to Dragon. "What kind of subordinates do you have, Dragon? I'm disappointed. TCH. You almost lost me your super duper important top secret informant, you know." He then circled around Koala. "Is it okay if I call you cute and cuddly from now on?" Koala's eyes twitched and she internally struggled, wanting to be professional for a possible old friend of Dragon and wanting to beat him up. "Oh, you won't react?" he grinned, poking her cheek. "Good, then I'll call you cuddly." Smack. "You're so infuriating." She, that's more like it. Luffy grinned as he came back to normal. "Come on, I really meant it when I said you're included in private too." "Oh," Koala blinked before looking at Dragon for permission, who had just watched the whole thing in amusement. Dragon nodded at her before entering the office and soon, Luffy and Koala were sitting across from Dragon, who sat behind a desk, the light from a lantern illumining the whole area. "Let's first talk about Tequila Wolf. What do you know about it?" Dragon said, starting the conversation. "It's a huge bridge the world government has been building for the past 7 centuries. Yeah, I said centuries. No clue what it connects or why it's being built. Maybe there's a reason, or maybe it was just a whim of a celestial bastard 7 centuries ago and they're just continuing with it for no reason." "He calls them celestial bastard?" Dragon noted with excitement. "That sounds like something those bastards would do," Koala growled. "Yeah, they enslave criminals but also kidnap people from countries which are not affiliated with the world government and put them to work building it. The bridge is big enough that the civilization has moved along as the bridge progresses, leaving plenty of abandoned camps. People have been born, worked on the bridge their whole lives and died on it too." Dragon had a composed look as he took in all the information while Koala looked horrified. "Sorry, I don't know where it is," he trailed off, but then perked up when he recalled something. "Ah, Buggy might know. When he was a child, I think he saw that bridge once. Buggy the clown? Dragon asked dubiously, his composed expression breaking for just a second. Yep. He's here in Logatown right now, so you could try to see if he knows something. It's doubtful though, he was just a child when he saw it, but you can try. No, this is more than enough. We had just heard the name Tequila Wolf previously and assumed it was an island taken. If it's a bridge that is being built for 700 years, then it must be pretty big. Even if Buggy doesn't know, it's easier to find it now that we know what we're looking for. I see. That's good then. From where did you get this information? Leo, right. Let's get to the main topic. Who is Leo and how did he know? Well, the easiest way to explain is that Leo was psychic. He could see the future. He saw my future and shared it with me. In a few months from now, one of my crewmates ends up on Tequila Wolf and the Revolutionary Army shows up and helps her around the same time. You're kidding, right? Koala asked incredulously. Nope. Dragon still had a composed look as he stared at his son and took his words in stride. And he knows about me because you find out about me in the future? Yep. The whole world finds out. Dragon let out a deep tired sigh. I see, you said the easiest way to explain. I'm assuming there's more to the story? Yeah. It's not the truth but the end result is the same. I saw my future for around 3 years from now. What's the truth? Dragon pressed. Luffy sighed. You know the phrase, New World bullshit, right? Of course. Well, this will be weirder and crazier than New World bullshit. Dragon just looked at him challengingly. Okay then, do you guys know the multiverse theory? Oh booey, Koala gulped knowing she was in for one hell of a story and Dragon nodded with an expectant look. That makes things easier then. Okay, 2 years ago, I ended up dying. After that, comes the CRA. You died? Dragon interrupted. Yeah, don't worry about it. Now comes the crazy part. Ready? Luffy grinned, took a deep breath and continued. Dragon and Koala were gobsmacked, to say the least, by what followed. Luffy began by narrating how he met Leo, how White showed up and the following explanation of how they were the same soul from different worlds. Koala thought he was joking at first, then thought he was making up a story, and when it seemed like he was actually being completely serious, thought he was delusional. Are you really being serious right now? She exclaimed. You met someone from another world and also a higher power? And you expect us to believe that? Wait, I haven't gotten to the really crazy part yet. That wasn't it. How did Leo recognize you if he's not from this world? Dragon asked the correct question. Luffy grinned, that's the really crazy part. We kinda ended up exchanging memories and I saw his life. Saw his world. Turns out that there's a massively popular comic book titled, One Piece, in his world. It tells the story of one 17-year-old boy called Monkey D. Luffy who sets out on a journey to chase his dream of becoming the Pirate King. You've gotta be kidding me. So yeah, that's how I know. I saw myself in our world in the form of a comic book and an animated show. There was a long stretch of silence where the two processed his words before Dragon spoke up. That's an unbelievable experience you've been through. Yeah, Koala agreed. So what? You're like the protagonist of this world? Not really. In the story, I stay on my home island until I turn 17. But here, stuff happened and I ended up far away and died when I was 15. Multiverse, you know. I see, Koala nodded, and I was obviously in it too. Yeah, but very late in the story though and not much to be honest. Plus, when Leo died, the story was still ongoing and a lot was left, so I don't know what happens entirely. The story mainly revolves around me and my crew, so you guys aren't much in it. The Revolutionary Army only becomes relevant to our crew on a personal level much later when Sabo gets his memories back. There are a few glimpses here and they're showing Dragon's reactions whenever I get new bounties, but that's pretty much it. I see, Dragon said with a small smile. We never meet? No, the closest we get is here in Logatown. I get caught by Buggy on the execution platform with a sea stone collar. He's about to swing his sword to cut my neck off when a huge lightning bolt strikes the execution platform. It was epic. Dragon grinned while Koala tilted her head. Wouldn't you get hurt too? Devil fruit. I'm a rubber man. Oh, well, after that lightning strike, we're running to the shore when Smokey stops us. I'm fighting him when you show up. You say, the world is waiting for our answer, and then fly me away towards my ship. Dragon slightly averted his eyes at that. Yep, he definitely rehearsed that line, Luffy thought in amusement. That's pretty much all the contact we have in the story. I only learn about you from Gramps later in the Grand Line, but we never meet face to face, but it was coming, I think. Dragon nodded with a sad smile. Could you please tell me who you are to each other? Koala asked awkwardly. You haven't figured it out yet? Luffy said with amusement. Well yeah, but I don't want to assume. He's my son, Koala. Koala nodded in affirmation. That's really shocking, but given this whole situation, that's the least shocking thing I've learned today. Now that that's out, Koala called you shit earlier, you know. Wha? Koala gasped. When did I say that? Don't spout lies. Well, you said something like you know about shit families like mine and what kind of S we all are. So you indirectly called Dragon shit and also Grandpa. Koala blushed in embarrassment as she hastily tried to defend herself to Dragon. That's when I thought he was Sabo's blood-related family. Luffy laughed and Koala smacked him a few times again before suddenly pausing. Wait, Grandpa? Dragon's dad? Who's that? Garp. Koala froze as she dumbly stared at Luffy, processing his words before slowly turning towards Dragon. Sir, why your father is G. Garp the Fist? Dragon nodded with a sigh, causing Koala to just gape in astonishment. That's gonna come out too. Oh yeah? How exactly? There will be a huge war in a few months. It's a long story, and I might end up changing things, so I'll tell you when the time comes. For now, I wanted to discuss some other things, Luffy said, sitting up straighter, and the whole atmosphere changed. I want to talk to the Supreme Commander of the Revolutionary Army now, Luffy said, and Dragon sat up straighter too, his lips slowly stretching into an ecstatic smile before Luffy continued. Let's form an alliance. Dragon's heart rate elated in excitement. You don't want to join us instead? Nope. My dream is to become the freest man on the seas, the Pirate King, and nothing will ever change that. Freest man on the seas, huh? Dragon repeated with an approving smile. Not bad. Yeah, but I do want to form an alliance. Stuff happens in the future and I think we can help each other. Like what? Well, like we go to Eni's lobby and raise it to the ground in the future. Maybe I can steal whatever doents or other things I can get my hands on and pass them on to you. Or you can time some other revolution or something at the same time to fuck the world government twice over. I'm sorry, did you just say you'll raise Eni's lobby to the ground? Koala asked incredulously. Why? CP9 steals a crewmate of ours. We go to get her back and in the process, raise it to the ground. Well, technically, they do it themselves. They call a buster call on Eni's lobby to wipe us out, but we escape and they end up destroying the place. Koala looked like her birthday had come early and laughed with joy hearing that. Dragon's reaction was even more unexpected as he threw his head back and started guffawing. She, yeah, that's just one example. Not sure if it'll happen in this reality or not, but I'll let you know. We'll keep in touch. Yes, of course, Dragon smiled, standing up and holding out his hand. Luffy also stood up, happily took it, and they shook, creating an alliance between the Revolutionary Army and the future Pirate King's crew, which had massive repercussions for the entire world down the line. Okay, I need to leave soon. Let's rush things. Luffy found and fished out a few files and a transponder snail number. I stole this from a marine captain called Nezumi. All his wrongdoings with proof are in there, and he's done a lot of bad things. This is a number for a woman called Moody. She's a journalist who wants to join the Revolutionary Army. Call her first before you do anything with the file on Nezumi. She has a present for you guys and you guys can discuss what to do. Alright, and then, I need a favor, Luffy said, getting to the main point of why he wanted to form an alliance this early in the journey. He originally wanted to gain some achievements, show Dragon that he was capable, and then asked to form the alliance. Forming it now by just telling him that he would do crazy things in the future instead of doing it didn't sit well with him. He didn't want Dragon to agree to the alliance just because he told him about the otherworldly stuff, but he didn't have a choice here. Dragon was pretty much the only one he knew who could for sure help him in getting this favor, and it was more important than anything else currently. He put the bag of cash on the desk and opened it up for him to see before pushing it towards him. There's around 175 million in here. I want a zone devil fruit. A zone? Yes. A zone specifically. If this isn't enough, call me. I can get how much ever is needed. Sounds like this is very important. Not important to the world or anything, but to me, yeah. It's extremely important. Dragon nodded. Consider it done, thanks, Luffy sighed in relief, taking the first step towards saving Mary. The zone was for Mary. Not sure how exactly he would make a ship eat a devil fruit, but he thought that Mary's Cloudbotterman could eat it. Devil fruits were pretty much the only thing that could break the physics of the world, so currently, this was the only way he could think of saving Mary. Dragon then wrote down his and also Koala's number. Koala will be your primary contact. Contact her if you need anything or have anything to say and she'll relay it to me. Okay. Luffy happily took it while Koala groaned. I have to deal with this guy? I already know I'm gonna hate this. She don't worry. I'm against animal cruelty. Especially cute and cuddly koala bears. Grr, Koala growled, grabbed Luffy's head and banged it repeatedly on the desk, uttering a single word for every smash. Stop calling me cute and cuddly. She. Luffy laughed, totally unconcerned, while Dragon looked on with amusement. Anyway, Koala continued after she was done. Should I tell Sabo about you? Well, ideally, I want to meet him and tell him myself. He's on an undercover mission in West Blue right now and we don't know when he'll be back. But once he does, let us know your path in the Grand Line and I'll put him in your path. Yeah, sounds good. I think I've spent enough time here. There's a storm coming, so I need to leave now. Koala, can you take me to that woodwork shop I stopped at earlier and then to the execution platform? Sure. A minute later, the three had come out of the underground lair and were standing outside the building, the two men with their hoods up again. The skies were dark and cloudy, and looked like the storm was about to hit them, with a slight drizzle already starting. Before you go, Dragon interjected, how exactly did you die? Oh, got caught by slavers and ended up in the death pit in Mariajoy during the rev. Crack. The pavement they were standing on cracked, with Dragon's feet being the epicenter, and Luffy didn't miss the look of horror that passed through his face, and also Koala's. People around them also backed away in fear, instinctively sensing the anger that spilled out of Dragon. I feel like I shouldn't have said that, Luffy said with a sweat drop before pulling Dragon and walking away from the area. Dragon deeply sighed, massaging his temple as he tried to compose himself. When you disappeared 2 years ago, you were in Mariajoy. They had me for just 6 months, don't worry too much. Dragon had only come to learn that Luffy had disappeared when he saw the missing posters the Marines were passing around. And by that time, Luffy had already been missing for more than 2 months already. He hadn't done much at the time, thinking that Garp would search and find him, but his son was in Mariajoy the whole time? I'm sore? Yeah, Luffy waved it off. I don't blame you for not searching, nor do I care. It's not like you could have found me anyway. Besides, I gained a lot from that trip, so I see it as a win. So if you didn't have the astronomical and divine luck of running into Leo in the buffer space, right, buffer space, you would have died for real. Pretty much, yeah. Dragon stared at the ground solemnly for a few seconds before raising his head and looking at his son. Luffy, do you hate me for abandoning you? Not just when you disappeared, but also your life. Not at all, Luffy said with a smile. Before Leo, I didn't even know or care if I had parents. I'm not much for blood-related families, so had never even given it a thought. But after Leo, I know you a bit. I understand why you couldn't raise me. I have first-hand experience with your enemies, and they're my enemies too. I know what you're trying to do. This revolutionary army you've created is nothing short of amazing. I admire you and even see you as a hero. As a father though, we haven't spent any time together, so let's spend some time in the future when we get a chance, and we'll see what happens. Dragon swallowed hard as he stared at his son before patting him on the shoulder. Thanks for saying that, and yes, we'll spend time together in the future. Okay then. See you. Luffy waved and was about to grab Koala and go, but suddenly paused when he had another thought and looked back at him hesitantly. Just one last thing, Luffy said awkwardly, looking at Dragon. Now, Dragon had heard about earth-shattering, existential crisis-inducing secrets that day, and yet, he had managed to maintain a composed air around him. Nothing, except the Luffy being enslaved part, had fazed him, and he had taken all the unbelievable information in stride. But, when he heard what Luffy asked next, his brain utterly and completely crashed. You, didn't concede, like, you didn't, you and Crocodile were never a thing, were you? What? Koala squawked in shock, alerting the surrounding people. Dragon blinked, completely dumbfounded. his brain having a hard time processing Luffy's words, and only after 2 whole seconds did he find his mouth working. "I'm sorry?" Luffy sighed in relief seeing his reaction. It was a joke headcanon in Leo's world that Crocodile was his mother, and he just wanted to clarify that that wasn't the case. And maybe also fuck with Dragon a bit. Never mind. Anyway, bye. No wait. Dragon yelled agitated when Luffy turned to leave. What does that mean? Do you mean the warlord? Why do you think that? Forget it, Luffy grinned. It's a joke. What kind of joke? Luffy just laughed as he ran away, dragging a just as shocked Koala with him, leaving Dragon with unanswered questions. Crocodile and me? He shuddered just thinking about it before completely erasing that conversation from his mind. The people around him looked at him weirdly, having heard what he yelled, so he quickly left the area. He stared at the sky as he walked, thinking about everything that his son had just told him, and his fists clenched. The winds suddenly picked up speed, which caused the storm to become faster and fiercer before it soon started raining. He was enslaved by them, and ended up dying because of them. If it wasn't for a divine miracle, he would have died with no one knowing where he was, and no one would have found out either. He grit his teeth in frustration, wanting an outlet for all the rage he was feeling. Rage at himself for not looking into Luffy's disappearance himself, and also at a certain old man. "So what kind of vey in the story?" Koala asked as they both ran with her leading the way. I don't think we ever met in the story, really? Yeah, you're there with Sabo when he comes to meet me, but you and I aren't ever in the same space. Then who calls me cuddly and all? What do you mean? I meant, like, why did you call me cute and cuddly? No one calls me that in the story? Oh, she, not really. I just looked at you and thought you were cuddly, that's all. Smack. 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 She. Grr. Smack. 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 They soon reached the woodwork shop and entered. Luffy took the custom-designed item he had ordered before heading towards the execution platform, with Koala leading the way again. Hachi asked about you, by the way. Hachi? Koala perked up happily. You met him? How is he? Luffy gave her a look. You don't come to East Blue often, huh? First time I've been here, actually. Why? Well, if you did, I think you would have done something about Arlong. Arlong? Her face scowled. What about him? He was terrorizing people here? Koala froze before she lunged and grabbed him. Where? I said was. I already took care of him, don't worry. Koala sighed before letting him go, and they started running again. What did he do? Long story, I'll tell you some other time. Alright. Sue, she trailed off, looking expectantly at him. You want to hear about the other world? Luffy deadpanned. Of course, I want to, she exclaimed excitedly. Okay. When we meet the next time, we'll have a long talk and I'll answer anything and everything you want, okay? Good, she nodded, but again started throwing more questions at him. Hey, is the One Piece real then? Do you know what it is? Yes, it's real, and no, I don't. I know you have loads of questions, but some other time when we have privacy, okay? He said pointedly, looking at all the people they were passing by. The crowds had thinned out a bit as people took shelter from the soon-to-hit storm, but there were still plenty of them around. Okay, I'll calm down. They soon came across an intersection where Luffy spotted all 4 of his crewmates standing and discussing something heatedly. Nami had her huge bag of clothes. Usopp and Sanji were carrying the large blue trunk tuna fish that he couldn't wait to eat. Zoro had his new swords, and Usopp had the new goggles too. Hey, guys! He yelled as he ran towards them. Luffy. Nami looked relieved. Where the hell were you? We've been looking everywhere. You could have just called me, Luffy said, and Nami's mouth, which was opening to protest, immediately shut up again. You forgot to use transponder snails, huh? Did you even bring it with you? Doesn't matter, I did have it, Usopp interjected. Idiot, you should have said so earlier, you could have just asked. It's not like you remembered to use it either. Ah, who cares? Nami snapped. The storm suddenly picked up just now, we need to leave. Yeah, give me a few minutes. Just need to go to the execution platform, he said, and ran without waiting for an answer. Koala also followed, running after him while just giving a courtesy smile to them. Luffy, no, stop, we don't have time, Nami yelled, but he was already running away from her. The 4 just stood there not knowing what to do. Couldn't he have gone there earlier? Nami huffed in irritation. What was he doing this whole time? "A date, I think," Zoro answered, making the others snap their heads at him. "With that girl following him?" Usopp asked. "He was on a date?" Sanji hissed, gritting his teeth. "I'm gonna teach him a lesson when he gets back," Nami growled. And the four stood watching their captain run to the execution platform in the distance. Luffy finally reached the execution platform, removed and put the cuffs into his bag and thanked Koala before climbing it. Ah, the view Roger saw. Luffy smiled ecstatically as he stood on the platform, recalling the scenes from the story where the whole square was filled with people as history was made. The place that began the pirate era. The place where Roger died with a massive smile on his face. The place that had basically set his path in life. Also, the place where he would have gotten stupidly caught and almost died. He looked around to see if Buggy or Alvida would show up, but no one came. Since I was cooped up in a room, they didn't spot me, I guess. He sighed and let go of the plan to get almost executed. Not like it would have been genuine anyway. A small crowd soon formed below him and he heard officers yelling at him to come down, but he ignored them all. He spotted Koala looking curiously at him, saw his crewmates in the far distance no doubt mumbling things like, "The hell is he thinking? He has a bounty on his head?" Before spotting Dragon in the distance too. He was looking right at him as a soft gust of wind blew over his face, and at the same time, a few swords seemingly moved by themselves right behind the platform but were actually being moved by wind. Luffy's lips curled up into an ecstatic grin as he got the message Dragon was sending. Luffy took a deep breath as he closed his eyes, the wind around him picking up even more speed and blowing his hood off of him, revealing his face to the world. Lightning flashed in the sky, illuminating his face and causing a few Marines below to gasp in recognition before they called Smoker. The downpour of rain increased and Luffy removed and threw his jacket away before picking up his hat that was dangling on his nape and settled it on his head. The rain pelted his skin as he adjusted his vocal cords to amplify his voice and lifted his hands up to the sky. Whoosh! Everyone in the area felt a change in atmosphere as all sounds suddenly died out, as if heaven itself was waiting to hear what Luffy had to say, and many eyes turned towards the man standing on the execution platform. "I am." Eyes that weren't on him yet snapped towards him as the loud voice bellowed through the town. "The man WHO is going to become." Smoker, Tashigi, Buggy and Alvida were all in different parts of the town, but hearing the voice, they recognized it immediately and instantly got to a high vantage point to see where the voice was coming from and spotted Luffy at the execution platform. "The king of the pirates." Boom, crack. 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 The declaration was immediately followed by an ear-deafening series of not one, not two, but 6 lightning strikes, all striking behind the man who had just declared his dream to the world. Luffy smelled the ozone in the air and felt chills running up his spine. Yep, that sure was epic. The reaction from the others was very disbelief from Smoker, Tashigi and many Marines. Bewildered awe from his crew. Shocked expressions with their jaws hanging open from Buggy, Alvida and a majority of the crowd. Unbridled excitement and an almost divine worship-like feeling from a certain green-haired man who was in tears. Excitement and reverence from 2 more men. A black-haired man wearing a black hat with a golden ribbon around it. And a green-haired man who absent-mindedly pickpocketed someone in front of him while still looking everentially at Luffy. A wide grin from Dragon, and a roll of the eyes from Koala, who was shaking her head thinking, "Drama queen." Luffy jumped down from the platform after he had had enough of taking in the view and started running through the square. All eyes were on him and the crowds parted as he ran, letting him pass, either afraid of him or in reverence. Just as he ran, he spotted a head of wild green spiky hair sticking out in the crowd and recognized the man as Bartolomeo. "Oh yeah, Barty's here. He was inspired to become a pirate and became my fan because he saw me face death with a smile in the story, didn't he? Wonder if his motivations will change now that didn't happen?" He thought and looked at his face as he passed him by. His eyes were glistening with tears as if he was seeing God. His face was flushed, aching as if he was about to sob. "He's definitely going to become my fan." Luffy thought he should say something to Bartolomeo, and so as he passed him, he turned his head towards him, looked into his wide eyes and said, "Chase your dream, buddy," before turning his gaze forwards and continued running. For Bartolomeo, that had happened in slow motion. Luffy turning his head towards him, his eyes fluttering towards him, making him gasp and go, He's looking at me. His eyes that looked like deep black holes that sucked in everything locking with his own. His lips moving in slow motion uttering 4 simple words which seemed like gospel to him. His smile as he turned away. And only then did his world return to normal again. Chase your dream, buddy, he breathed reverentially. So simple and yet so profound. He burst into tears as if he had found his God. The man with a black hat and the pickpocketing green-haired man both hurriedly came up to Bartolomeo and asked in unison, "What did he say?" "Chase your dream, buddy," Bartolomeo cried, and the 2 men also repeated those words reverentially. Luffy, having no idea what his 4 simple words had done to Bartolomeo and 2 more, stopped right at the edge of the square before pulling out his transponder snail and called Usopp. "You guys done gawking and standing around doing nothing? The Marines are already mobilizing and surrounding the area. We need to leave now." That brought the 4 out of their stupor as they simultaneously yelled, "Idiot, it's your fault." Right on cue, everyone who had business with Luffy arrived at the square. "Stop STRAWHAT, Buggy yelled just as he came in his Bara car form from the right side. "Luffy," Alvida drawled as she slid over the ground coming towards him from the left side. "Straw Hat Luffy," Smoker bellowed riding his billower bike from the front while holding his jute out. "Buggy," Alvida, Smokey, Luffy cheered waving at all 3 who all noticed each other too and came to a stop. "Nice to see you all." "Smoker, Buggy the Clown, and Iron Mace Alvida? Where?" "Wait, where's Alvida? Oh, you recognized me. You know me so well." "That's Alvida? That's Alvida? That's Alvida?" Smoker, Buggy and Nami, through the snail, said in unison. She you lost your freckles, Alvida. Ah, you noticed, you pay so much attention to me." "That's the thing you notice? That woman was a whale the last time I saw her." "Don't call a woman a whale, you asshole," Sanji yelled through the snail, but no one but Luffy could hear the conversation with his crew. "No, she really was one." Nami interjected, "Wow, what a transformation. How the hell did she get so thin?" "Devil fruit," Luffy answered just as new people arrived. "Stop, all of you." Tashigi and a platoon of Marines entered the scene. "Buggy, Alvida, Straw Hat, all of you are under arrest." "Hey, Tash, Straw Hat Luffy. You tricked us the last time. Was making us laugh and getting punished by Captain Smoker part of your plan?" "Ah no, that's just your fault for laughing at your superior," Luffy said with a grin as he waved at all the Marines behind her. "Hey guys. How y'all been? I hope you're all doing Smoker's impressions like I taught you." A few of them snickered but quickly put on a stoic face back while Smoker glared at him. "You did Smoker's impression?" Buggy asked with a laugh. "Gahahaha. Enough. Enough." Luffy, in Smoker's voice, and Smoker said at the same time, which caused Buggy and crew to laugh hysterically while the Marines struggled hard not to laugh. "Luffy is certifiably insane, huh?" The snail on Luffy's shoulder said, taking on Usopp's appearance. "Ah, chaos." Luffy grinned happily as he stared at the overlapping conversations and confusion going all around. "I love it so much." "You have a screw loose," the snail yelled, taking on Nami's angry appearance. Smoker, who was still glaring at Luffy for imitating him, lightly smirked as he said, "Remind me what your bounty poster looks like again." Luffy facepalmed, and that opened the floodgates to pretty much everyone present there laughing. "Gahahahahahaha, that's right. What's up with that picture, Straw Hat? I almost don't feel like killing you now thinking you're a child," Buggy laughed. Foo, it is quite cute," Alvida drawled teasingly. His crew's laughter also reached his ears, and he saw Tashigi and the rest of the Marines also pointing and laughing at him. Koala, who was enjoying watching the chaos unfold while standing next to Dragon on a roof, tilted her head in confusion. "His bounty poster? What's wrong with it?" Dragon wordlessly fished out a poster from his coat and handed it to her. On she fell on her back laughing. Luffy sighed as he kneaded his forehead. "I'm never gonna live this down, huh?" Smoker, after having had his dose of joy by watching Luffy suffer, became serious again and barked out his next orders. "Tashigi, set up a blockade. No pirate is escaping here. Men, catch them all." "Yes sir." "HAHAHAHAHAHAHAHA." Buggy continued laughing while secretly setting up his fist holding knives to launch at Luffy. "Alright. Once you're done laughing, Luffy said quietly and sternly into the snail. You guys head to the ship and set off. I'll hold them off here and join you once you're out at sea. That's the first smart thing you've said today, Nami said as she and the others began running out of the area along with the rest of the crowd that was being ushered away by the Marines. Well, everyone except for Zoro. I want in on this chaos, he said with a smirk before he separated from the others and ran towards Luffy and the blockade being set up by the Marines. Suicidal bastards, Nami said with a sigh while Sanji could be heard saying, Don't worry, Nami Swan. I, your knight of love, shall protect you, and Usopp snapping, hold the damn fish properly, you idiot. Luffy disconnected the call just as he dodged Buggy's floating fist coming at him from the side. She not gonna make the same mistake and let you damage my hat, he said, and Buggy swallowed down an involuntary bout of fear that came across him when he remembered how exactly and quickly Luffy had dispatched him the last time they fought. While other Marines started attacking Alvida and Buggy and his crew, Smoker's smoke hands came at Luffy, who jumped out of the way as he stared challengingly at Smoker. How ya been, Smokey? I told you last time that if I found out that you're a criminal, I'll personally hunt you down. And now you show your true colors. Everything you said was a lie, he scowled as his smoke hands followed him. Everything I said is invalid just because I'm a pirate now? Yes, you are tricking me, do you truly believe that? Yes. Smoker grit his teeth in annoyance as he kept trying to grab Luffy with his smoke hands, but Luffy kept parkouring out of the way. Well, sounds like you want me to be a liar. Can't handle it yet, huh? Oh well, whatever, Luffy sighed, sending a disappointed look at Smoker, which annoyed him way more than he let on, before landing next to Buggy, who was fighting off other Marines who were attacking him. Yo, man, how ya been? I'm doing well, thank yo. Why the hell am I telling you? She still screechy as ever, huh? Luffy said as he jumped and Smoker's smoke hands caught Buggy's torso. Gia, you tricked me? Luffy. Alvida came charging in next. Ever since you hit me, I've always thought about you. No man had ever hit me like you did. And now I won't be satisfied until I make you mine. Surrender, Alvida. A Marine shouted with a platoon of them pointing their rifles at her, causing her to stop. Oh, you wouldn't hurt me, would you? Alvida drawled seductively. No, we won't. The Marines lowered their rifles with hearts in their eyes. Idiots. Capture her, Smoker bellowed. Sir, someone else is attacking us from behind, another Marine yelled, and Smoker, Tashigi and Luffy turned in the direction of the yell to see Zoro slashing and taking down Marines. It's you, what the hell are you doing? Tashigi yelled. Zoro, a Marine pointed out. You're Roronoa, Zoro? Tashigi gasped before scowling and unsheathing her shigure. Were you tricking me earlier? Zoro actually became uncomfortable seeing her. You never asked for my name. Before their battle could get underway, Buggy yelled, Bara Bara Festival, and split up into pieces, essentially getting out of Smoker's smoke, before charging at Luffy. At the same time, Alvida came sliding towards Luffy with her mace aimed at him while drawling his name. Whiteout. Smoker, tired of the chaotic fight, spread his smoke hands throughout the area, and soon every single pirate, except Luffy who easily dodged, was engulfed in smoke. Buggy's different body parts were also held strongly by the smoke and he couldn't get free either. Fire, he ordered next just as he moved all the pirates together, and a few Marine wearing special guns that looked like hand cannons stepped forward and fired nets at the pirates. The whole Buggy crew plus Alvida were caught in a net in one fell swoop. What the hell is with this annoying net? Alvida grumbled, and what kind of weird weapon was that? That's a special weapon created by the Marines to capture devil fruit users called cage shot, Buggy mumbled, glaring at Smoker. Ooh, good going, Smokey, now for you, Smoker growled, staring at Luffy, but his attention was grabbed by Zoro, who was taking down his men at the back. You, Roronoa Zoro. You are a bounty hunter, aren't you? Why are you attacking the Marines? I'm a pirate now. He's my captain, he said, pointing at Luffy, and Tashigi's eyes widened. You're a pirate? She screeched as she stood across from him. That's worse than being a bounty hunter. You were toying with me all along. What? You're gonna take my sword now? I'll liberate those swords from their awful fates of being used by you. Let's see you try. Zoro grinned, but Luffy suddenly appeared next to him and pushed him away just as a net flew where he was an instant earlier. You, playing dirty, glared Zoro. "I didn't order that." Tashigi snapped back, slightly flustered. "That was by my order," Smoker growled just as many Marines began encircling them from all directions, all holding the net-launching hand cannons. "Ah, we need to relocate," Zoro said, eyeing them all, and Luffy agreed. Soon, he just kicked and launched a couple of Marines in the air before running away. "Stop! Rorinoa Zoro!" Tashigi yelled. Smoker immediately ordered his men to take care of the captured pirates before he got on his billower bike and chased after them, with Tashigi jumping onto its back with a determined expression to hunt Zoro down. Luffy and Zoro only managed to go about 2 blocks away before Smoker caught up. White blow. Smoker launched his smoke hands from on top of the bike and Luffy grabbed Zoro as he flipped over the smoke. He then threw Zoro, much to his ire, right across from Tashigi, who gasped when she saw him, jumped down from the bike and held her sword up challengingly. "You're not running away this time. I'll be taking away Wado and the other swords away from you." Zoro grumbled curses at Luffy for throwing him as he got up before staring at Tashigi. "Let's see you try." The two lunged at each other and clashed their swords. Meanwhile, Luffy was again dodging Smoker's smoke hands. "Why don't you fight back?" Smoker growled, realizing that all Luffy did was dodge. "Because it's no fun to take down weaklings," Luffy said nonchalantly and properly pissing Smoker off. "Is that so? Let's see how you handle this, White Fist." His smoky fist came at Luffy and he didn't bother moving. The smoky fist landed on his chest, pushing him back and pinning him to a wall. Smoker thought that he had finally caught him, but Luffy looked unconcerned and was looking in another direction. He followed his gaze only to see the fight between Zoro and Tashigi, which was just about over as Tashigi's sword fell out of her hand and Zoro pinned her against a wall, holding his sword against her neck. The fight hadn't even lasted for 30 seconds. Smoker was about to intervene, but Zoro just backed off, saying, "You'll never take Wado away from me," and sheathed his swords before turning away to a direction completely opposite to where Luffy was. "Well, I'm in a hurry, so I'm leaving." And that pissed Tashigi more than losing, as she grit her teeth in frustration and roared, "Why aren't you killing me?" Zoro paused, glaring back at her. "Is it because I'm a woman? You dare go easy on me in a serious duel just because of the fact that women aren't as physically strong as men?" She yelled, infuriating Zoro as she was saying the same things Kuina did. "Of course, I shouldn't expect someone like you to ever understand what wishing to be born a male feels like," she scoffed before stating resolutely, "But know this, I didn't pick up the sword for pleasure." That broke the seal on Zoro's tolerance. "It's your damn existence that bothers me, not your gender," he snapped, reeling on her. What? Your face," he yelled, pointing at her face. "It looks exactly like my friend who died years ago. And now you're saying the same bullshit she did? Stop copying her, you damn copycat." "What? I've never heard something so childish in my life," she yelled, getting right in his face. "I've always lived as myself. I have no idea who this friend of yours even is. I should be the one complaining here, not you. Maybe she's the one who copied me." "What did you say?" Zoro shrieked. A cough brought them out of their little spat and turned to see Smoker and Luffy looking at them with amusement. Well, at least Luffy was, while Smoker was stoic as always. They were totally lost in their own world and only now realized what kind of conversation they were having. They immediately backed away, blushing in embarrassment. "Ehem." Zoro cleared his throat, trying to compose himself, and only then noticed that Luffy was pinned to a wall by Smoke. "I need help, Luffy?" "Nah. I was just watching the show," he said, grinning, and Zoro blushed more. Smoker became extra vigilant as soon as Luffy said that and watched him like a hawk. Having witnessed the spat, Luffy was just going to escape but had another idea as he stared at Smoker and Tashigi. "Smokey, can you do me a favor?" Luffy asked rhetorically, still pinned to a wall, before continuing. "Can you send some investigators from Marine HQ to look into the Marine base on Konami Islands? It's the 16th branch led by Nezumi. The entire island was under the rule of Arlong pirates for 8 years. All the people there had to pay tribute to them. 100,000 for an adult and 50,000 for a child every month. If any one person from a village didn't manage to pay that amount, Arlong would kill all the villagers." Smoker and Tashigi's eyes widened at that. Tashigi began, but Luffy cut her off. "Nezumi there took bribes from them and kept it all under wraps. 4. 8. Fucking. Years. So many villages were wiped out and all he did was just watch. Last week when I was there, I saw him tormenting the villagers with sadistic glee, so he wasn't doing it because he was scared of Arlong or anything. He did it because he's a sick bastard who takes pleasure in tormenting others. And why the hell would I believe the words of a damn pirate? Smoker said with a scowl. I'm not asking you to believe me. All I'm asking is you send some investigators there, that's all. If I'm lying, then no harm done. If I'm telling the truth, then that sick fuck will get what he deserves. Can you do that? Smoker kept up the glare but slightly nodded. Yes, I can do that. When it turns out to be a lie, I can interrogate you further when you're locked up in my cell. Okay, thanks, that's all, I guess. Come follow us to the Grand Line, guys. It's gonna be so much fun. What makes you TH? Luffy kicked off the wall he was pinned against with more force than Smoker was ready for and popped right out of the smoke. In less than 2 seconds after that, he pulled out the sea stone cuffs from his sling bag, put them on Leung directly at Smoker and punched him in the face. Smoker saw the attack coming but thinking it would pass through him, didn't do anything, and when the attack did land, he heard a sickening crunch and blacked out. When he came to his senses again, he found himself staring up into the dark cloudy sky with his head buzzing and his face hurting. What happened? He muttered, trying to make sense, but he couldn't think clearly. Am I having a concussion? It was only a minute later when he felt hands lifting him up and looked up at a worried Tashiji's face and his surroundings did he realize that he had crashed a long way away from where he was fighting with Straw Hat and blood was flowing down his nose and head. I know it's way too late to say this, but you're one strange person, Luffy, Zoro said as they ran towards the shore. Zoro eyed him when he didn't respond and found Luffy staring at him in wonder. What? I'm just astonished. I know I laugh and all, but right here, it's a straight road to the shore with absolutely no need for any turns, and yet, you keep managing to go down the wrong road when I take my eyes off of you for a second. Honestly, how can one mess up that bad? Zoro blushed in embarrassment. It's the streets and buildings' fault. They keep moving around. This is East Blue. We won't see stuff like moving buildings until we get to the New World. So buildings do move around. I knew it. Wow, you strayed off again. It's this way. Zoro ran back to Luffy's side. Again, the buildings moved. You know, Zoro, there are places in the world which cannot be found unless one is properly and utterly lost, like the entrance to Davy Jones' locker, for example. You will be the perfect navigator if we ever face such a situation. Is that something from your stories, or is Davy Jones' locker an actual thing? Who knows? She. Who knows? Again. Zoro, this way. The building moved again. Luffy and Zoro playfully bantered until they reached the shore and found that Mary was already far. Zoro sighed as he got ready to be carried again. How long will it take me to learn airwalk? Honestly, no idea. I'm pretty sure Sanji will learn it first though. What? Yeah, his fighting style is mainly based on using his legs, so he should pick up airwalk and Soru faster than you. Like hell that Arrow Cook will. I will master them first. Don't worry, Rankyaku, Haki and all, I'm sure you'll learn it first. I'll learn everything before that perverted cook does. She okay. Straw Hat. Buggy suddenly showed up running towards them along with his crew and Alvida. Oh good, you guys escaped. Ah yes. Thank why wait, it's your fault. Luffy. You're Min? Alvida again drawled. Sorry, but I'm not interested. Luffy cut her off before turning to Buggy again. And you? He pointed and Buggy stiffened up. Stop terrorizing innocent civilians. Do you really think your old captain would have liked to see that? Just shut up and go to the Grand Line already? Gaw. What all did that red-haired bastard tell you? Doesn't matter, Luffy said while looking at rooftops and found a perfect spot. He then turned to Zoro with a grin. I think it's about time I show you my devil fruit. Oh, and you guys, see you on the Grand Line. He waved and then disappeared along with Zoro. Straw Hat. Luffy. Gah. Bastard knows the Rokushiki. Buggy cursed, giving up on chasing him. The what? Alvida asked. I don't want to tell you. That's fair, Captain. What was that about your old captain? Moji asked curiously. It's something from a long time ago, don't worry about it. Buggy dodged the question before glaring at no one. That damned Shanks. Alright men. This is a great opportunity. Let's head to the Grand Line. Got room for one more? Alvida asked. Didn't you keep saying that you wanted to make that straw hat bastard yours? Mine as in under my foot. Oh, gahahahaha, sure. Let's team up to take down that bastard. It was late, but Buggy and Alvida joined up. As I said, you're one strange person, Luffy, Zoro said as they both stood atop a building. First you actually reprimand Marines and tell them to follow you into the Grand Line, and then you do the same thing to enemy pirates. She life's more fun with chaos. He laughed and Zoro sighed, accepting that Luffy was just that way. So what exactly are you looking for? A launching point. Ah, that should do the trick, Luffy said, spotting two chimneys lined up perfectly for him to slingshot from. Ready? I guess. Okay, stand there, he said, pointing right in the middle of two long and parallel chimneys. Zoro complied, feeling dread rising up for some reason. Luffy then launched both his arms at the two chimneys and Zoro watched in astonishment as they unnaturally stretched all the way and caught the two chimneys. Wah! He gaped. I'm a rubber man, he announced, losing tension in his legs. Zoro didn't have time to process the statement as Luffy came barreling into him, and before Zoro even realized, he was shooting through the air over the sea with a cackling Luffy holding onto him. It took a few seconds for him to calm his racing heart down and comprehend that Luffy was made of rubber and he had just slingshotted himself. What the fuck? Luffy aimed a couple of airwalk kicks to orient himself correctly towards the Mary and landed fell into the ship. As soon as they crash landed, Zoro held Luffy by the neck and started shaking him. The hell, bastard? Never ever do that ever fucking again, he shrieked while Luffy cackled like a madman. Zoro sighed, letting him go, and looked at his crewmates' amused and curious faces. Hey, good job, Luffy, I want to see the moss head screaming in terror more. I don't think I've ever seen Zoro lose his composure like that, Usopp chuckled. Yeah, and I thought only I had the right to choke and shake Luffy like that, Nami said in an accusatory tone. The hell kind of right is that? Everyone except Sanji yelled while he just twirled around saying, oh Nami Swan, I'll happily be choked to death by you. Luffy saw quite a few crates on deck and pointed at them. What's that? The stuff we ordered, Sanji answered. Ship tools, appliances, cartography tools, weights. They were all delivered to the ship. Ah, okay. Anyway, what happened? Nami asked. Nothing much. We just fought them all off. To get to the ship though, Luffy finally showed me his devil fruit. Really? What is it? What is it? Nami and Usopp excitedly chirped. Luffy was about to reveal his ability when someone else shot up from the sea and landed on deck, startling everyone. It was Koala, and Luffy realized that she had swam her way to the ship at an extremely fast speed. I'm jealous. You shouldn't have eaten a devil fruit then, she grinned while straining her hair. Oh, beautiful goddess of the sea. Thank you for blessing me with your presence on this auspicious day. Sweet mermaid. Sanji sang, noodling towards her with hearts in his eyes and a glass of orange juice in hand. Oh, thanks, she smiled at Sanji taking the glass, and he burst into a joyous twirl. Anything for that beautiful smile of yours. Forget something? Luffy asked once Sanji was done with his charade. Yeah, nail clippings or hair. Oh, sure. Luffy started biting his nails off with his teeth, causing her to smack him on the head. Use a nail clipper, damn it. Who cares? I do. I have to handle it. Go get nail clippers right now. But I don't think we have nail clippers on board. Nami smacked him this time. Of course, we do, idiot, I'm here, aren't I? I don't act like you savages and bite my nails off. She stomped to her room and came back in seconds with a nail clipper. Thanks, Luffy took it and started clipping his nails, much to everyone's confusion. Hi. Usopp said, not knowing how the stranger had just suddenly shown up. Demanded nail clippings of all things and started arguing about nail clippers without EVF. Did you swim all the way here? Usopp added, in such a fierce storm? You call this a fierce storm? Koala asked, genuinely confused. None of them have been to the Grand Line yet, Luffy answered, and she went, ah, in understanding, causing the others to gulp in fear. Anyway, I haven't introduced myself, huh? Koala said, sending a sly smile at Luffy before she stood up, straightened out her wet clothes as much as possible, and bowed towards the others. Hello. My name is Koala. I'm Luffy's 7th wife, she cheerily introduced herself. Nami and Sanji, who were drinking their own glasses of orange juice, spit out everything. Usopp gaped with his jaw falling on the floor while Zoro amusedly looked at Luffy, who glared at Koala. Wife? 7th? She's obviously joking, Luffy screamed while Koala giggled. Oh, what do you mean, Luffy? Are you gonna throw me away like you threw away your first 6 wives too? She whimpered with a faux sad tone. Sanji's leg came flying in at Luffy's head, but he dodged it. Don't play with women like that, you shitty bastard. She's joking, Sanji, calm down, and you, stop spouting bullshit already. Don't you have a thing for Sabo? Koala lightly blushed. We just work together, wait, do we in the Santo? Ah, stop. Luffy clamped her mouth shut and she looked at him questioningly before understanding dawned on her. You haven't told your crew? She whispered when Luffy let go. Not yet. Oh, hello? Nami said sternly, looking at them, and Luffy sighed, waving it off. It's just a joke, she's my friend and a revolutionary. A revolutionary? Nami, Usopp and Sanji gasped while Zoro looked blank. Don't go telling people that, Koala grumbled, it's a secret. Right. Anyway, her name might be Koala, but as your captain, I order you to call her cute and cud. Luffy didn't get a chance to finish his sentence as Koala jumped on him and started banging his head on the deck. How many times should I tell you not to call me cute and cuddly? She then glared at the rest of the crew and they instinctively took a step back, even Sanji, and none of you too. They nodded their heads vigorously at that. Anyway, Luffy got up like nothing had happened and handed the nail clippings to her. I thought that could only be made in the New World? Not really. It can be created anywhere as long as you know the method, she answered, sealing the nail clippings in a small plastic bag before pulling out a small piece of paper. This is mine. Seems just like paper, huh? Yep. The crew also came forward looking at it curiously. What is it? It's called a vivre card. Here, watch. Luffy put the piece of paper on his palm and it started moving on its own towards Koala. It'll always move towards a specific person no matter where they're in the world. Wow. Such things exist. Nami gasped, taking and inspecting it. How does it work? I don't know actually, you need a person's DNA to make it though. Ah, that's why she took your nail clippings, Usopp nodded sagely. Also, here's 8,000 berries for the bet I lost, Koala said, giving Luffy the cash while slightly glaring at Zoro. How the hell do you get lost running in a straight line, huh? Zoro blushed and grumbled under his breath while Usopp and Sanji burst out laughing. Nami also laughed but went to Luffy and snatched the cash out of his hands first. Anyway, need to talk a bit. Koala waved with a smile at the others before dragging Luffy towards the bow of the ship, away from the others, and they understood that they wanted privacy. Hey, we're in the middle of a storm here. We need all hands on deck, Nami snapped. Hey, it's fine, Luffy waved it off. This much is nothing and I'll jump in if it gets too out of hand. The two walked off while the rest got to handling the ship. You told me about all those secrets but not your own crew. You don't trust them? Koala asked in a low tone when they were out of earshot. It's complicated with them, Luffy sighed as he leaned against the railing, and everything to do with trust. Imagine you are a person on whom life has shit upon again and again. Everyone you got close to has betrayed you, causing you to build a wall around yourself and you no longer trust anyone. Now, I suddenly come up to you and say, hey, I know you from a story from another world. I saved you there and you trusted me in the story, so trust me here too, how would you feel? Koala nodded in understanding. I see, even ignoring the fact that I would call you delusional and wouldn't believe you, it feels forced, huh? Exactly. It's like I'm taking the choice away from them. It feels so icky. I want them to choose to sail with me. Want them to choose to rely on me and the crew. Want them to wholeheartedly choose to become a Straw Hat. Don't you have the same problem too? Don't you feel like you're being forced to choose the same crew as in the story? Well, I won't say I'm not, but I honestly like them all. Very much. Even without the story, I would have picked these guys. I haven't yet come across a tough decision where they are present in the story but I didn't like them in reality. I see. So all your crew members are like that? That's just one example I gave. One person is like that. But there are other instances with others too which will feel like I'm forcing how they should feel if I told them what happens in the story. I could tell some members, but that'll just end up creating a rift between those who know and those who don't. And since you're the captain, it'll be like saying, I don't trust some of you, huh? Yeah. And if the crewmate with massive trust issues ever thinks that the crew is keeping something from her, she'll run away. So, I decided not to tell any one of them until we reach a certain point. I get it, man, this sure is complicated. Having future knowledge has issues of its own. You have no idea, Luffy sighed heavily. Well, cheer up, Koala said, patting his back and giving him a small hug. I'll come meet up whenever I get the chance and we can talk. Sabo too if he's free. Tell me your path. Thanks, Luffy said gratefully and told her all the islands they visit in order. Things might be different and more islands might be in our path considering other factors. But I will visit all these islands, friends are suffering on each one. I see. Alright then, she nodded, making a note of all the island names. Once done, she got a bit fidgety and hesitantly looked at him. One last thing. Yeah? Well, you know my past, don't you? A bit, yeah? You know Tiger too then? Yeah? His last moments? Yeah, did he blam? What were his last moments like? Luffy was wondering why she was so hesitant to ask about that before gaining an understanding look in his eyes. You think it's your fault he died? You think he blamed you? She flinched before sighing and nodding. It is my fault he died right after he left me on Fool's Hound. My mom didn't tell me then, but a few weeks later, I finally learned that she and my village were the ones who had called the Marines and told them about Tiger in exchange for overlooking the fact that I had a brand. Well, that's not wrong, but it's not your fault, Koala, yo. Koala snarled as she grabbed him by the collar before screaming in his face. Don't give me that, it's not your fault, bullshit. I get that the main reason was because he didn't get blood, but he was in that situation because he helped me in the first place, wasn't he? He blamed me, didn't he? The rest of the crew got alarmed at the sudden loud outburst and watched the two in apprehension, growing confused as to what they were talking about. Sanji, of course, came running and yelling, "How dare you distress a woman?" and kicked at Luffy's head, but Koala caught his leg and threw him out into the sea before grabbing Luffy again. Sanji, Usopp and Nami yelled in unison, watching their cook fly far in the sky in the middle of a storm and splash into THT out laughing in joy. Calm down, Luffy placated, grabbing her hands. His death is a bit more complicated. What? Is it not because humans refused to give him blood? Luffy reached out and pulled down on both her ears, making her wince in pain. Ow, what was that for? You were getting hysterical. So, you pull on ears to calm a person down? What kind of strange technique is that? Nah, the point is to make the person confused by doing a totally random thing. That's strange. It made you calm now, didn't it? Touché, do you even realize you threw Sanji off the ship? I did? When? She asked, looking around, genuinely confused, and saw that the rest had backed away, not wanting her rage to turn towards them. He'll swim back, don't worry. Now, back to Tiger. Luffy then went on a solemn explanation of how Tiger died, and Koala was teary-eyed by the end of it. So, in the end, it wasn't just some single event. It was his life experiences of dealing with humans that drove him to his death. He understood in his head that he shouldn't hate all humans, but his heart just couldn't accept it. He refused the transfusion and died crying that he hated the fact that he hated humans. So that's what happened, Koala breathed solemnly, wiping her tears away. She sat on the railing staring down into the sea for quite a while, and Luffy stood next to her waiting for her to process everything. He also said that it's youngsters like you that will change the world for the better. Liar, he really did. She just shrugged, thinking that he was lying to make her feel better, and eventually turned her head to stare at Luffy expectantly. You gonna do something about it? Something to fix the whole fish-man-human relations? Yep, I want in. She stated resolutely, anything related to this, I want in. Okay. Luffy nodded with a smile. Good, well, she sniffled, I'll see you later. She looked like she was going to cry herself to sleep after leaving, so Luffy stopped her. Wait, let me tell you something else. You know how I said Leo died after I was pushed back to the land of the living? Uh-huh, well, turns out that sometime later, White kinda pulled him out of the soul plane. There are rules in place so he can't come back alive, but he's hanging out in the buffer space where he and I met. Like, purgatory? There's a mansion there with robots that could build him anything he wants apparently, so definitely no. Ooh, that's amazing. Yeah, and he's not the only one. In the story, lots of people had tragic pasts where loved ones or amazing people like Fisher and Otahime died. Leo can pull all of them out too. Koala's eyes slowly widened with astonishment. You mean? Yep. I kinda met the spirit of Nami's dead mom recently. Yeah, I can do that. I'll tell you in detail later. She told me that many dead souls are up there with Leo. A sort of dead club with everyone reading the story and learning what happens to their loved ones after their deaths. Koala just blinked in astonishment. And Leo cares a lot. He has cried like a baby so many times when reading certain people's tragic pasts, and that was when we were just fictional characters to him. But now that he knows that they're all real and has been given the power to pull them out, he will let them, all of them, know what happens after their death and bring happiness to them. Wow, also, Luffy continued excitedly, I'm pretty sure he won't be satisfied with just showing them the comic book. He'll want to make them watch. He grinned, pointing at himself and Koala. Watch us. Luffy clamped her mouth when she was about to yell, hush. They'll watch us? She hissed, taking his hand off in excitement, like on a screen? I'm not sure how, but something like that, yeah. They aren't yet, but I know Leo will find a way to do it, so, he said, patting her shoulder with force and making her stiffen up. All we have to do is show them that their deaths weren't in vain. Show Tiger that saving you, he emphasized with a grin, was one of the best things he ever did. Koala teared up again, for the completely opposite reason this time, and her smile couldn't get any wider. Why, you're being serious? Yeah, he grinned as he held a fist towards her. So, let's wreck the current system together one day. Luffy's hand almost broke with the force with which she fist bumped him before she wrapped him in a bear hug and squeezed him tight while laughing joyously. Wow, you even give hugs like a bear. I'm so happy right now that I don't even care about that comment. Oh really, cuddly? Don't push it. She alright. Off you go. You cute, round-eyed, huggable bear, Luffy said, peeling her off of him and pushing her into the sea, and she fell in without much of a fuss. I'll let that slide this time, she yelled, laughing in joy before swimming away. Sanji was thrown onto the deck a few seconds later, followed by, I'm sorry I threw you, Sanji. It was my honor, I got to swim beside a beautiful mermaid like you. My sweet Koala-chan. Sanji swooned before she swam away, and Sanji then looked at the rest. What did I miss? Well, he first made her angry, then made her cry, then said something that had her gaping in astonishment, and then somehow made her so happy that she squeezed the life out of him. Usopp summarized what it looked like to the rest of them. Die. You shitty captain. Luffy ducked down just as his leg swept past him with a chuckle. He was going to play around a bit more with him but felt a sudden intense gaze on him. He caught Sanji's leg while looking around in all directions, not able to pinpoint the source as it felt like he was being watched from all directions. He wanted to think it was Leo and the others, but he had felt the same gaze on him before too, and Belmere had confirmed that they hadn't watched him up till that point. Luffy? What's wrong? Sanji asked as he too looked around, and Luffy saw that even Nami, Usopp and Zoro were looking around too. You feel someone watching us too? Not at all really. I'm only looking because you were. Me neither. You're acting strange, so thought someone was about to attack, Nami added, and Usopp and Zoro also said the same. Someone trying to ambush us? No, it's not hostile, Luffy said, growing confused. He was the only one feeling it. The gaze suddenly left him just as fast as it had come, and he sighed. Forget it, I'm not sure if it's in my head or something. He lied to reassure the rest but didn't know what to think of it himself. Well, get to work. We are still in the middle of a storm, for God's sake. Nami snapped, and the rest go to work again. Deep undersea, paradise, Krarkachar. The fairy laughed as she heard Luffy making fun of this new person called Koala. Ever since Luffy had gotten Mary, he had kept the chest of log poses that held her gold trinket on the ship and didn't carry it with him in his sling bag like before. Her range didn't extend for more than a few meters from the gold trinket, so she couldn't follow him everywhere anymore. She wished he would carry it with him because he seemed like a lot of fun, but she had no way of telling him that. So whenever they went to any island, all she could see was the ship and at most the edge of the shore. Thankfully for her, Luffy spent many nights out on the figurehead telling Mary about what had happened, and she listened in too. It wasn't as good as witnessing everything, but it was still better than nothing. Besides, the crew was plenty of fun on the ship too. On their last island, Luffy and crew had defeated the Arlong pirates. The fairy had heard the whole conversation between Luffy and Nami, so she knew why they fought and also learned what kind of values Luffy and the crew had. And she really liked this crew. reminded her of her own crew. And now with this koala person, it was really fun seeing her being teased. At least until Koala dragged him away and they began their secret conversation. Now, I sue and say, hey, I know you from a story from another world. I saved you there and you trusted me in the story, so trust me here too. Huh? Where they are present in the story but I didn't like them in reality. Having future knowledge has problems of its own, huh? Holy Sea King shit. Is he an oracle? She was sure of it, but phrases like, in the story and, another world didn't make sense to her. Before she could make more conclusions, the topic shifted to fishmen and tiger. That's one messed up history, and fishmen are not considered fish anymore, huh? When she was active a few centuries ago, fishmen were still classified as fish as far as she remembered, and she didn't even know they could talk, so this was all news to her. The world has moved on and changed so much while I was stuck here, she said with a sigh. And just as Koala was leaving, Luffy stopped her and her mind blew even more. Leo died after I was pushed back to the land of the living. What? The fairy said aloud, confused. White pulled him out of the soul plane. In the story, lots of people had tragic pasts. Leo can pull all of them out too. Met the spirit of Nami's dead mom recently. Many dead souls are up there. Dead Club with everyone reading the story and learning what happens after their death. They'll watch us. So all we have to do is show them that their deaths weren't in vain. What in the name of Sea Kings are they talking about? It didn't take long for an unclear picture to form in her mind and she just gaped at Luffy. There wasn't just one thing that baffled her. Luffy had died and had been pushed back to life somehow. Dead people were apparently hanging out in the afterlife and they were all reading the story. Before she could think, her beautiful wings sprouted from her back, her eyes shone brightly and in East Blue. Luffy became aware of her stare. Do you recognize me? Am I in that supposed story? Am I in your future? She kept up the gaze for a few seconds and when it looked like Luffy had no idea what or who was gazing at him, she stopped using her powers and her wings drooped down, and she even stopped looking at him. He doesn't know me. She didn't know what she was expecting honestly, but she understood that she wasn't a part of Luffy's future. The fairy kneaded her forehead. I'm destined to rot at the bottom of this sea for the rest of time, completely forgotten by everyone, and I deserve to experience every tortuous second of this for what I did. She stayed silent with her head down for a long time, but eventually, she couldn't help but resume looking at Luffy and the rest again. She. It feels like the ship's about to capsize. You should say that in fear, not joy, you idiot. The fairy couldn't help but let out a small chuckle. Going merry, East Blue, she. It feels like the ship's about to capsize, Luffy yelled over the raging storm they were in. You should say that in fear, not joy, you idiot, Usopp rebuked, holding on tight to the main mast. Ah, Nami. I can see the light. Yes. That's the guiding lighthouse, also called the Light of Guidance. The entrance of the Grand Line is just past that. Nami yelled before looking at Luffy and the others. So what's it gonna be? Woohoo! Let's go! Hey, is it really alright to enter in such a bad storm? Usopp whimpered in fear. We should wait a bit? Nope. This is perfect. Alright. Let's mark the occasion with a small ceremony, Sanji said as he rolled a barrel over. He smiled as he placed one foot on the barrel, to find the all blue. Luffy excitedly walked up and planted his foot next, to become the Pirate King. Zoro was next, to become the world's greatest swordsman. Nami followed, to draw a map of the world. Usopp hesitantly thought about what to say before planting his foot. T to become a brave warrior of the sea. Everyone grinned, taking a moment to think about their dreams, before they raised their legs high up and brought it down on the barrel, smashing it into pieces. Grand Line, here we come. 1 month later, unknown island in East Blue. Shit. Fine. You're the captain. The black-haired man wearing a black hat with a golden ribbon around it grumbled as he holstered his revolver. Hee ha ha ha, of course, I am. Nothing can get through my barriers. Bartolomeo gloated with a grin as he casually stood on the railing of his ship where he had just defeated the black-haired man in a fight. But I am the first mate. I'm not settling for anything less. I'm the best sharpshooter in the whole of East Blue barring Daddy Masterson, and some guy called Usopp who apparently beat Daddy. He grumbled the last part in annoyance. Gil Bastar, I recognize your skill in sharpshooting, but being a first mate isn't just about that, Bartolomeo said sternly. If you want to become first mate, then you'll have to earn it. Gil grumbled some more but ultimately nodded in acceptance. Alright then, I'll earn it. Good. Captain. One of his crewmates yelled from the shore. We need to pay these guys who helped transport goods to our ship. Starting as a pirate is way more expensive than I thought. Bartolomeo grumbled with a sigh as he went to pay them. He reached for his wallet but it wasn't in his usual pocket. He searched around all over his body in a panic but couldn't find it. Where the hell is my damn wallet? Ah, sorry, I stole it. A green-haired man stepped up with his wallet in hand and an apologetic look on his face. You bastard, Bartolomeo yelled, snatching it away. You have a real problem, Bran, Gil said with a grin as he patted the green-haired man. Yeah, Bran sighed as he fished out more wallets and Gil realized his own wallet had been pickpocketed too. Bran, you can't just keep pickpocketing me, Gil snapped. I'm sorry, I just can't help it, I'm trying to stop that bad habit, he muttered sadly even as his hands reached out and stole the wallet of an unsuspecting crew member who happened to pass by. That's some real talent though, Bartolomeo said, impressed. Just use it on anyone other than our crew, okay? I'll try, Bran sighed, but a second later, had pickpocketed another crew member and Gil just hung his head low knowing his wallet would never be safe around Bran. A few minutes later, payments were done, supplies were loaded and all preparations were done for them to head to the Grand Line. Alright men, Bartolomeo yelled, standing on the bow of their pirate ship. I know this is sudden, but from now, we're pirates. Dedicated to the future Pirate King, Luffy Senpai. Yeah. What is our motto, our creed, our gospel that Luffy Senpai has bestowed upon us? Chase your dream, buddy. Say it again. Chase your dream, buddy. That's right. Bartolomeo cheered. From today onward, we are the Bardo Club. We are going to make Luffy Senpai the Pirate King. Yeah, HHH. We'll be heading to the Grand Line tomorrow, so party now. Yeah. Bran wanted to protest about the whole thing but stayed silent, not really getting a chance to intervene. They're missing the whole point of what Luffy said, he thought with a worried look, and his eyes met Gil's, who also seemed to have realized the same. I tried talking to him about it, Gil said as he passed a bottle of alcohol, but he didn't seem to understand. They're too fanatical right now, so I'll have a talk again once he calms down. So for now, just drink. Bran sighed but nodded as he grabbed the bottle. Why exactly did you join Barty? Gil asked. Well, I thought Luffy was great. Not just the declaration and lightning, but also his bravado. Did you see the way he danced around Smoker's attacks? Yeah, and the way his smile only grew the more enemies came at him? Amazing? Yes, and did you see how he took out Smoker in a single punch? My jaw was hanging open. Mine too. They both suddenly stopped and sheepishly grinned. Guess we're fanatics too, huh? We fit Rig, good dude, strong and a good leader too. Yeah, he's great. What about you? Well, the same reasons actually, plus, I want to try to pickpocket Luffy. Bahahaha. Sure, that would be great. Hee ha ha ha, Gil, Bran. Bartolomeo interrupted as he put an arm around the both of them. I know you're new but don't feel shy. Drink, eat and party to your heart's content. We don't have the money for this, kin, Bran began, but Bartolomeo waved his concerns off as he drank and partied. You're too uptight, Bran, one of the Bardo Club pirates said with a laugh before dragging him into the party, and Gil jumped in too. Sometime later, when the party was waning, Gambia, one of Bartolomeo's close friends, came up to him with a worried look. Barty, are you sure you want to leave without resolving things with Desire? Bartolomeo's face scrunched up. We made our choices, Gambia. She's gonna go her way and I'm gonna my way. Gambia nodded with a sad look on his face. Don't bring the mood down now, go sleep. Tomorrow morning, we'll be going to the Grand Line and starting the next chapter of our lives. Yeah, Gambia smiled. You take rest too, Captain. The next day, the Bardo Club left for the Grand Line. A week after that, on the same island, another ship was getting loaded with supplies and its destination was the Grand Line too. A woman with red hair that was styled very similar to Bartolomeo's hair stood at the bow with a checklist in hand to make sure they loaded up with everything they needed while she ate candy. Once the last of the battle boats were loaded onto her ship, the sweet pirates led by Captain Desire also left for the Grand Line.